Chapter 105. Su Yufeng saw that the situation wasn't right. She was afraid that Yi Yuxuan would really be moved by Gong Shifan's words, so she clutched her stomach and cried out, "Master, this concubine's stomach hurts." Yi Yuxuan came back to his senses and hurriedly went to support her. After that, he hurriedly bid farewell to Gong Shifan and Dongfang Quebec. "My body isn't feeling well, so I won't be accompanying the two of you." After that, he helped Su Yufeng up and quickly left, looking like he was fleeing. Seeing Yi Yuxuan and Su Yufeng lose face, Yi Jioge felt an indescribable joy in his heart. She walked towards Gong Shifan and Dongfang Ke, bowing solemnly. "Grandmaster Gong, Your Highness Prince Dongling, Jioge will definitely remember the kindness you have shown me today." If they hadn't stopped her in time, she would have killed old Master Su out of anger, and the Thunderfire Needle would have been exposed. "Miss Yi, you don't have to be so polite." Gong Shifan helped her up and laughed heartily. "In the past, Master Yun had once gifted me a pill. Today I have repaid the old man's kindness." Yi Jioge knew that Gong Shifan was just being polite, but he was still very grateful to him. "Young Lady Yi, old man Su is narrow-minded and vengeful. I'm afraid he will still deal with you. If you need any help from our Gong family, you can use this token to find us." Gong Shifan took out a palm-sized black token and handed it to Yi Jioge. There was a mysterious eye engraved on the token, and inside it was the word palace in flamboyant calligraphy. In the Azure Billow continent, the color of black was respected, and this token was obviously very valuable. Yi Jioge had not expected that Gong Shifan would actually give her a token. Her questioning gaze immediately landed on Dongfang Quebec. After all, he was the one who had brought her here. Dongfang Ke nodded and indicated for her to accept the token. Yi Jioge hesitated for a moment before accepting the token. He cupped his hands in thanks and said, "In that case I'll thank Master Gong first." "Miss Yi, you're too polite. I still have something to do, so I'll take my leave." Gong Shifan cupped his hands and left in a flash. "Your Highness?" Yi Jioge looked at Dongfang Quebec. What was going on? She had to be given an explanation. "It's not convenient to speak here. Can eldest miss find another place?" Dongfang Ke said in a low voice. "If Prince Dongling doesn't mind, why don't you come and have a seat in my courtyard?" Yi Jioge said. Mother Qing was injured, she did not want to leave Yi Mansion. "All right." Dongfang Ke nodded. Yi Jioge wanted to go back and help Mother Qing, but he was rejected. "No, this old servant can walk." Mother Qing leaned on Jinju and said. "She was just a servant. How could she let the eldest miss help her up personally? If word got out, others would think that their Purple Forest Park was a place without rules. Eldest miss, rest assured. This servant can support Mother Qing." Jinju used to work as a watering maid. Although she didn't have much else, she still had a lot of strength. Seeing that Mother Qing insisted, Yi Jioge didn't force her. Returning to Purple Forest Park, Yi Jioge insisted on giving Mother Qing a new diagnosis and treatment. After using medicine to stabilize her condition, he went to greet Dongfang Quebec. Dongfang Ke was deep in thought under the red flower tree in Yi Jioge's courtyard. He didn't even notice Yi Jioge walking over. "What is Your Highness thinking about?" Yi Jioge poured him a cup of hot tea. Dongfang Ke came back to his senses. Looking at Yi Jioge's delicate and beautiful face under the sunlight, he couldn't help but lower his eyes and say, "Eldest miss, are you wondering why the Gong family is showing goodwill towards you?" "That's right." Yi Jioge didn't feel that the Gong family and grandfather's relationship was that good. Even if there was a relationship where they gave him medicine, it should be based on a transaction of gold and silver. "That's because I told them that your medical skills are superb. You were even able to cure the demonic poison in my body and noble consort Shi's strange illness." Dongfang Ke raised his head and looked at Yi Jioge apologetically. "I didn't discuss it with you before making a decision. You won't blame me, right? You also want to help me. Why would I blame you?" Yi Jioge smiled and asked, "Does the Gong family have a patient?" The youngest son of the Gong family's current patriarch, not only has a purple aptitude, he also inherited the Gong family's purest eye technique bloodline. At such a young age, he has already cultivated the white pupil technique. However, a year ago he suddenly contracted an eye disease and became blind. The Gong family searched for spiritual doctors all over the world to treat him, but unfortunately he still hasn't recovered, Dongfang Ke slowly said. Yi Jioge pondered for a moment, then said, "I haven't seen the Gong family's young master's eyes, so I can't guarantee that I can cure him." The cause of blindness was complicated and not easy to treat, so she didn't dare to boast. "That's not a problem. The Gong family isn't someone who only cares about the benefits in front of them. You just need to be on good terms with them." In the future, if you have news about Great Master Yun, just put in a few good words for the Gong family in front of him, Dongfang Ke said calmly. The Gong family didn't think that Yi Jioge would be able to treat their young master's eyes. What they cared about was Yun Tianwei's reputation. A few years ago they had wanted to use Yi Jioge to find Yun Tianwei. However, at that time, Yi Jioge was simply too useless and had no value in cooperating with him. Only then did the Gong family invite Yi Yuxuan over to refine pills. If Yi Jioge hadn't said that she had obtained the treasure that her grandfather had specially left for her in the 10,000 feet abyss, the Gong family wouldn't have come forward to help her. All right then. How could Yi Jioge dare to say that the matter of her being in the 10,000 feet abyss was fake? She was still searching for her grandfather's whereabouts. However, if the Gong family's goodwill was only for her to help treat the illness, then it wouldn't be a big deal. Her medical skills couldn't be compared to her grandfather's, but it was still much better than Yi Yuxuan's. If she had the chance, she would flip through Yi Yuxuan's medical records and see what medicine he had given to the Gong family's young master. Mr. Shifan is a forthright person and is someone worth befriending. You don't have to worry. Dongfang Ke was afraid that Yi Jioge would feel burdened, so he comforted her. I thought that the relationship between the Gong family and the Crown Prince would be better. Dongfang Ke's eyelids drooped slightly, his tone carrying a hint of ridicule. The Crown Prince always has a good relationship with any aristocratic family. Dongfang Ke's eyelids drooped slightly, his tone carrying a hint of mockery. The Crown Prince had always been high profile, especially when it came to the Gong family. He would make a big fuss, as if he was afraid that others wouldn't know that he had a good relationship with the Gong family. Yi Jioge immediately knew that if he really had a good relationship with the Gong family, then he and Gong Shifan should have come. It's getting late, I'll take my leave first. Dongfang Ke was an outsider after all, so it wouldn't be good for him to stay at Yi Jioge's place for too long. I'll send you off. Yi Jioge stood up and wanted to send Dongfang Ke off. No need. Dongfang Ke waved his hand and said, there are many things to do in your courtyard, go busy yourself. I'll go out by myself. Yi Jioge thought of Mother Qing's injuries, so she didn't insist and asked Jinju to help send the guest off. When she returned to Mother Qing's room, she saw Mother Qing propping herself up and anxiously saying, young miss, why aren't you sending His Highness Prince Dongling off? This was such a good time to be alone. Chapter 106. His Highness doesn't allow me to send you off. Also, I'm worried about you. Yi Jioge and Dongfang Ke had known each other for a while and knew that he wasn't a pretentious person. If he said he wouldn't let her off, then he really wouldn't let her off. His Highness Dongling Wang was just being polite, why did you take it so seriously? This old servant is fine now, there's no need for you to worry. Mother Qing was so angry that she almost vomited blood again. Why was her young miss so dense? She had finally recovered her true appearance and was taking the opportunity to get to know young talents everywhere. Why was she still pushing away talents? How could she find a good husband like this? Yi Jioge didn't understand Mother Qing's intention to create a chance for her and Dongfang Quebec. She thought that her injuries had worsened and quickly stood up. Rest well, I'll go refine some blood-clotting pills for you. Then she left without waiting for Mother Qing to speak. Yi Jioge arrived at the pill refining room and saw the pill fire under the bronze cauldron slowly extinguishing. She just remembered that she was refining the blood-clotting pills. Now it could be put to good use. It was just that he didn't know what grade of pill this slow cauldron was going to refine. Yi Jioge casually opened the cauldron and a faint medicinal fragrance instantly filled the entire pill refining room. At this smell, could it be a high-grade pill? Yi Jioge was startled and was about to refine the pill. Suddenly, a fat black figure flew to the side of the cauldron like lightning. It turned out that the fat black rat that had been sleeping at the side had suddenly woken up. It puffed up its cheeks and its face immediately turned into a pufferfish. What are you doing? Yi Jioge suddenly had a bad feeling and quickly reached out to grab the fat black rat. However, the fat black rat spat a mouthful of colorless and odorless saliva at the cauldron. Damn. Yi Jioge didn't have time to teach the fat black rat a lesson and quickly fished out the pills. The blood-clotting pills that should have been red had turned white. Only one was dark red. Yi Jioge fiercely looked at the unhygienic fat black rat, causing her to waste a cauldron of pills. The fat black rat still didn't know that it had caused a disaster. It stretched out its little paw and shouted at Yi Jioge, "Pippi!" It looked like it was asking her for money. You have to eat the saliva that you spat out yourself. How disgusting. Yi Jioge said disdainfully. Pippi. The fat black rat stamped its feet and puffed out its round cheeks. He looked as if he was going to fight to the death with him if he didn't pay his wages. Here, here, here. Yijioga didn't want this batch of saliva pills anyway, so he gave them all to the fat black mouse. The fat black rat was very professional. It only took the crimson pill and held it with its two little claws. It puffed up its cheeks and gnawed on it, leaving the rest untouched. Yijioga saw that it was eating with gusto and thought of its usual behavior as a nouveau riche. He couldn't help but wonder if there was really something special about this pill. She picked up a white pill and opened her spiritual eye to take a closer look. The surface of the pill was simple and unadorned, but the medicinal properties inside were evenly distributed. The most amazing thing was that there was no pill poison at all. It was frighteningly pure. One had to know that medicine was 30% poisonous. The grading of elixirs was based on the amount of impurities in the elixir. The fewer the impurities, the stronger the medicinal effect and the higher the grade. No matter how powerful a pill refiner was, they would not be able to concoct a pill without any impurities. The pills that the fat black rat concocted were simply top grade. How did it do it? Could it be related to the saliva it spat out earlier? The more Yijioga thought about it, the weirder it got. Seeing that there was still a bit of crimson pill left in the fat black rat's claws, he immediately snatched it over. Pippy! The fat black rat angrily jumped up and bared its little white teeth at Yijioga. You dare to snatch this lord's pills? Be careful that this lord will bite you to death. I'm just taking a look. I'll return it to you later. Yijioga carefully examined the crimson pill and realized that this pill was the complete opposite of the white pill. It was completely made up of pill poison, and it was not an exaggeration to call it a poison pill. It seemed like all the impurities in the previous batch of pills were concentrated on this pill. Could it be that this little fella was a rare divine beast? Yijioga looked at the poison pill and then looked at the stupid fat black rat. No matter how he looked at it, he couldn't link it to a divine beast. Pippy! The fat black rat stretched out its meaty claws and looked as if it wanted to quickly return it to this lord. Yijioga really couldn't figure anything out and could only return the pill to it. The fat black rat took back the pill and slipped behind the table. While gnawing, it peeked at Yijioga as if it was worried that she would snatch its food. Yijioga gave it a supercilious look and then put away the rest of the blood-clotting pill. Although Mother Qing's injuries had stabilized, the injuries to her internal organs could not be healed immediately. It would take a long time to recuperate. When Yijioga came in, Mother Qing had just coughed up blood on her handkerchief. When she saw Yijioga come in, she quickly put away her handkerchief and said with a smile, I just spat out another mouthful of extravasated blood. My chest feels much more comfortable. You still feel comfortable after spitting out blood? Yijioga knew that Mother Qing was definitely comforting her. Grandpa Su's palm was so heavy and she was so old. How could she be fine? It's nothing. I'll be fine in 2 days. Mother Qing shook her head and said, I just refined a batch of blood-clotting pills. You can try one. Yijioga took out a jade bottle and poured out a milky white blood-clotting pill. I'm already fine. Why would I need to eat pills? Eldest miss, you can keep it for yourself. By the way, Lord Bai and Lord Wan often travel outside. What they need the most is this kind of pill. If you send it to them, they will definitely be very happy. Mother Qing felt that since she was staying in the courtyard and did not go out, she could slowly recuperate from her injuries. Eating pills was too wasteful. Yijioga knew that Mother Qing always felt that a servant like her did not deserve to eat good pills. She was very stubborn on this matter. So he changed his words, this batch of pills is a new formula that I developed. I don't know how effective it is. So, I want you to help me test the efficacy. Test the efficacy? Mother Qing immediately nodded her head in agreement. Yijioga was afraid that the efficacy was not enough. So he directly gave her 2 pills. Mother Qing swallowed it without hesitation. She suddenly felt 2 clear springs rising from her dantian. The originally dull pain in her internal organs was so comfortable that it did not hurt at all. Eldest miss, the pills that you refined are too powerful. Mother Qing was old and had suffered countless injuries. So, she was very clear that she would have to lie in bed for at least 1 or 2 months. But she did not expect that after eating 2 pills from Eldest Miss, she would actually be fine. It was even more powerful than the best quality blood-clotting pills sold in pharmacies. As long as it's effective. Yijioga was very satisfied with the effect of this pill. She decided to use the small bronze cauldron to refine the detoxification pill for noble consort Shi. However, she was worried that the fat black mouse had already spat once today. She was afraid that it would not be able to spit out anymore. So, she decided to refine it tomorrow. Chapter 107. After dinner, Yijioga sat on the chair and began to think about things. Thinking about how to detoxify Imperial concubine Shi. thinking about whether the news of Nurse Sue's death had spread, thinking about the young master of the Gong family who had an eye disease. At this time, Pearl came over with a cup of freshly brewed rose tea and said softly, "Eldest miss, drink tea." Although Mother Qing had recovered after taking the hemostasis pill, Yi Jioga still asked her to continue to rest in bed and recuperate, so Pearl went into the room to serve. Yi Jioga took a sip of the rose tea and asked, "What are Master and Madam doing now? I heard that Master sent a lot of guards to go door to door to find the corpses of the guards of the Su family. Now 5 have been taken back and the last one can't be found. Madam is so anxious that she can't even eat," Pearl said with a smile. When the people of Purple Forest Park heard that the people of Ink Garden were not living well, they felt indescribably happy. Yi Jioga's mouth hooked up, showing a satisfied smile. This was the effect she wanted. She thought that this was enough to damage the face of the Su family and Yi Yuxuan, but she didn't know that Wan Ziang still had a surprise waiting for her. At this time, Jinju said another piece of news. "By the way, eldest miss, this servant heard from a maid in the sprinkling courtyard that the garbage collected from our courtyard has been turned into a mess recently. Many maids in charge of cleaning have been scolded, and their monthly wages have been deducted a lot." Pearl was the child of a family and was very popular in the sprinkling courtyard. Although she was promoted to a maid in Purple Forest Park, she often went back to see her former sisters. She didn't put on airs at all, so everyone liked to talk to her about everything. The entire Yi mansion was cleaned by the sprinkling courtyard. They went out early and returned late. They often saw some strange things and told Pearl as a joke. When Yi Jioga heard this news, she immediately thought of the person who was watching her in Yi Mansion. Could it be that person guessed her movements from the garbage sent out by Purple Forest Park? Yi Jioga pondered for a moment and ordered Pearl, "Go to the sprinkling courtyard and ask when the garbage has been turned over and if anyone has turned it recently." "I know." Pearl nodded. Mother Qing also told her that Ziling Garden was being monitored, so she paid special attention to collecting these clues. "You've done well in this matter. After it's done, I'll reward you handsomely." Yi Jioga felt that Pearl really had the talent to be an intelligence agent. It was a pity that she was just a mortal and didn't have spiritual roots. Otherwise he could have nurtured her well. "Thank you, young Mississippi," Pearl smiled happily. The reward was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that the first miss did not conceal her appreciation, which made her feel that she was an unusual maidservant. "All right, if there's nothing else, you can go now." Yi Jioga looked at the dark sky outside the window and decided to go out for a stroll. "Yes." Pearl retreated tactfully. Yi Jioga returned to the inner room and changed into his night clothes. Like a ghost, he evaded the patrolling guards in the manor and sneaked into Yi Yuxuan's study to search for the place where he hid the medical records. At this moment, Zishang's lazy voice rang out, "Left corner. You're awake?" Yi Jioga immediately straightened up. Zishang had just woken up and was using the soul contract to secretly read Yi Jioga's memories so that he could understand what had happened while he was away. He just happened to read that Yi Jioga wanted to find Yi Yuxuan's medical records, so he casually gave her some pointers. Although Yi Jioga had a lot of questions to ask Zishang, she knew that now was not the time. She followed Zishang's pointers and walked around the left corner. Sure enough, she found a secret compartment under a floor tile. There was a large brown book and a small red booklet inside. The large booklet recorded Yi Yuxuan's connections. The small booklet recorded his most important clients. The medical record of Gong family's young master, Gong Baiyu, was in it. Yi Jioga carefully flipped through the case and found that Gong Baiyu's illness was indeed very strange. No, it should be said that he had no illness at all. Aside from being unable to see, he didn't feel any discomfort. His pulse was also very healthy and strong, and there were no signs before he lost his sight. This kind of illness without any evidence was the most difficult to treat. Yi Yuxuan didn't dare to randomly prescribe medicine, so he only prescribed a series of medicinal pills to nourish the eyes and liver for Gong Baiyu. The liver governed the eyes and most eye problems were related to the liver. There was no problem with Yi Yuxuan's prescription. However, the problem was that the liver was of the wood attribute, while Gong Baiyu had an earth spiritual root. Wood restrained earth, so blindly nourishing the liver would only make the wood spiritual root flourish, and it would instead restrain Gong Baiyu's spiritual power. Yi Yuxuan was treating the symptoms but not the root cause. If Gong Baiyu continued to treat him, he would be crippled sooner or later. However, she couldn't find a way to treat Yi Jioga. Moreover, Yi Yuxuan was a 5th-rank alchemist while she was only a 2nd rank. Even if she told the Gong family that Yi Yuxuan treated him incorrectly, they might not believe her. This matter still needed to be planned slowly. Fortunately, Yi Yuxuan didn't dare to use too much medicine, so Gong Baiyu wouldn't have any problems for a while. There was still a lot of time for her to consider. After Yi Jioga put the booklet back into the secret compartment, she quietly returned to Purple Forest Park. She was just about to ask Zishang about the origins of the small bronze cauldron and the fat black rat when she heard Zishang say viciously, "Su Clan's old bastard actually dared to treat you like this." So he had already read the memories of old Master Su taking advantage of his position to bully others. What made him even more furious was that it was Dongfang Ke who brought people to help Yi Jioga. What's the point of saying all this now? Yi Jioga rolled her eyes, showing disdain towards Zishang's belated actions. Why is it useless? Zishang's voice was gentle, but it was filled with killing intent. The temperature of the entire courtyard instantly dropped. What do you want to do? Yi Jioga suddenly had a bad feeling in her heart. Naturally, I want to help you take revenge. Zishang's tone was cold, and his killing intent was everywhere. Old Man Su is a spirit master, he isn't that easy to deal with. Yi Jioga frowned. This was the human race's territory. If Zishang accidentally exposed himself, it would be troublesome. You don't need to worry about this. Just as Zishang finished speaking, Yi Jioga felt pain from the purple mark on her wrist. She pulled up her sleeve and looked down. She discovered that the purple mark seemed to be on fire, and a snake-shaped purple light shot towards the Su clan. Zishang, don't do anything rash. Yi Jioga yelled in exasperation. Old Master Su was considered to have some status in Shangjing. If something really happened, the Su clan definitely wouldn't let it go. What if they found out that it was her? Don't worry, this sovereign won't kill him. Zishang said calmly. Then what do you plan to do? Yi Jioga couldn't be at ease without asking clearly. You'll know tomorrow? Zishang's voice gradually sank, as if he had gone into hibernation again. Yi Jioga was about to vomit blood. This unreliable demon snake, why did it always cause trouble for her before it went into hibernation? Chapter 108. How could Yi Jioga wait for tomorrow? She used the Yi clan's special signal to summon Yi Yu. After about the time it took to drink a cup of tea, Yi Jioga's window was lightly knocked. She opened the window and there was no one outside. If it was someone else, they would have been scared half to death. Yi Jioga skillfully said, "Come in." Something brushed past the window and then Yi Yu appeared in Yi Jioga's room, revealing a white jade-like beautiful face. "Big Miss, why are you looking for me?" Yi Yu had been cultivating and hadn't been summoned by Yi Jioga for a long time. "Help me keep an eye on the Su clan. If anything happens, report to me immediately." Yi Jioga said and then added seriously, "Keep an especially close eye on Old Man Su." Yi was a bit shocked. Although he was in closed-door cultivation, he knew that today was the day Old Man Su was going to hold a banquet to welcome guests. Did Big Miss Yi mean that someone would dare to cause trouble at this time? However, he saw Yi Jioga's serious expression and didn't dare to ask. He nodded and said, "Okay, I'll go now. Be careful, don't let them find you," Yi Jioga said. Although Yi Yu's cultivation had improved a lot, Old Man Su was still a spirit master, so he had to be careful. "Big Miss, don't worry. I know what to do," Yi Yu said and disappeared into the night. That night, Yi Jioga couldn't sleep well. She kept calling out for Zishang in her heart but didn't get any response. Yi Yu didn't come back for the whole night and didn't know what was going on with the Su clan. Before the sun rose, Yi Jioga couldn't lie down anymore. She got up and looked in the mirror to find that her face was unspeakably ugly. Her eyes looked like they had been punched twice. Pearl fetched water and saw Yi Jioga's dispirited appearance. She was shocked and quickly asked, "Big Miss, what's wrong? Didn't you sleep well last night?" "Nothing." Yi Jioga took the warm cloth that Pearl handed over and wiped her face. She was really worried about the Su clan and was thinking whether to look for Dongfang Ke to help her gather information or Wan Ziang. Zhenju thought that Yi Jioga was worried about the traitor in the Yi mansion, so she said, "Eldest Miss, I went to the sprinkler room last night and asked carefully." During this time, 7th concubine's maidservant, Yuan Yang, often inquired about news in the sprinkler room. She liked to ask about our purple forest garden the most, so they all suspected that it was Yuan Yang who went through the garbage in our yard. 7th aunt. Yi Jioga raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect it to be her. As a concubine, why didn't she want to fight for power and favor with Su Yufeng? Why did she come to oppose her? Could it be that she was a spy that the Empress had placed in the Yi mansion? I heard that 7th concubine's cultivation base has improved again recently, and she's ready to become an intermediate spiritualist. Zhenju revealed another piece of gossip. She advanced again? Yi Jioga was shocked. She remembered that seventh aunt had entered the family 2 years ago when she had just become a rudimentary spiritualist. Although her cultivation base had improved a lot with the help of Yi Yuxuan's medicinal pills these years, there should still be a long way to go before she became an intermediate spiritualist. Unless she got a good medicinal pill that could improve her cultivation base while crying. However, with Yi Yuxuan's stingy character, it was impossible for him to give it to her. It seemed that this seventh aunt had a lot of secrets. Yi Jioga was contemplating when the voices of 2 young maids suddenly came from outside the door. Eldest Miss, slaves Yudi and Hua Dai have something to report. Yudi, Hua Dai? Yi Jioga came back to his senses and thought about it. He remembered that there were indeed 2 such maids in his courtyard. They were the descendants of the Yun family's elders. Their aptitudes were good. Mother Qing had recently begun to let them train their bodies. Let them in. Yi Jioga ordered Jinju. Yes. Jinju bowed and went out to bring in 2 young maids who were about 12 years old. The one wearing green clothes was Yudi. Her eyes were quite elegant, and it could be seen that she was a calm and steady person. The one wearing pink clothes was Hua Dai. The corners of her mouth were curved like a smile. At first glance, it could be seen that she was a clever girl. Both of them had very mixed pseudo-spiritual roots. Although they could not advance to spirit practitioner, they had no problem in training their bodies. Slaves Yudi and Hua Dai greet eldest miss. The 2 maids knelt down and bowed to Yi Jioga. Get up. Yi Jioga signaled Jinju to help the 2 young maids up. Then he said, Our Purple Forest Park does not accept this kneeling ceremony. You 2 are still young. Don't kneel so easily. Otherwise your knees will suffer in the future. Yes. Yudi and Hua Dai bowed obediently, but in their hearts they were very happy. They had long heard that eldest miss was a generous master. Today it seemed that it was true. You 2 just said that you had something to report. What is it? Yi Jioga asked. Replying to eldest miss, this slave just heard something from the gatekeeper. It said that a corpse suddenly fell from the sky from Lord Su's house on our street. His family was so scared that they immediately reported it to the authorities. Now the corpse has been sent to the Ministry of Justice. The people from the Ministry of Justice invited Master to take a look. Needless to say, this corpse was a Su family guard. This Lord Su is really a wonderful person. Yi Jioga couldn't help but laugh. Yesterday the quarrel between her and old man Su should have been heard by everyone on the street. Everyone else gave face to Yi Yuxuan and returned the corpse of the Su family guard. Only this Lord Su wanted to send it to the Ministry of Justice. Clearly he wanted to make things difficult for Yi Yuxuan. I heard that Madam is so angry that she is bedridden. These few days she has been taking medicine to protect her pregnancy. Hua Dai said boldly. The corner of Yi Jioga's mouth hooked up. He didn't have any sympathy. Su Yufeng came back and caused trouble. She deserved to get sick from anger. Jinju, tell the carriage house to prepare a horse for me. I want to make a trip to the Ministry of Justice. Yi Jioga believed that with Wan Ziang there, the matter of the Su family guard would not be easily settled. She could go over and help out. Yes. Jinju nodded and asked, Does eldest miss want to bring people out? When Yudi and Hua Dai heard this, their eyes immediately lit up. Let them go out with me. Yi Jioga usually didn't like to bring people out. But now that she thought about it, it was necessary to cultivate some capable trusted aides. Thank you, eldest miss. The 2 servant girls immediately bowed to Yi Jioga with joy. Eldest miss, do you want to tell Mother Qing? Jinju asked in a low voice. Yi Jioga said. These servant girls had always been under Mother Qing's control. She did need to be told. Yes. The 2 servant girls could already imagine Mother Qing's nagging. They drooped their shoulders and walked out. Yi Jioga suddenly found it a bit funny. It seems that I'm not the only one who is afraid of Mother Qing's nagging. When Yi Jioga was ready to leave, Yudi and Hua Dai walked out of Mother Qing's room. The 2 of them seemed to have been reprimanded. Their little faces that were full of joy just a moment ago became very calm. They didn't dare to say a word. Yi Jioga was very satisfied with this. After all, she was going out. It was good for the 2 servant girls to be more steady. She brought the 2 servant girls to the carriage and walked towards the Ministry of Justice. Chapter 109. Yi Jioga went to the Ministry of Justice and said he wanted to see Wan Ziang. The guard at the door went in to make the announcement. Unexpectedly, Wan Ziang and Bai Songling came out to greet him. Miss Yi, why didn't you say you were coming? Bai Songling asked. I heard that someone from the Ministry of Justice came to identify my father's body, so I wanted to come and see. Where is my father? Yi Jioga asked. Bai Songling heard this and suddenly said with a strange expression, Didn't you hear that something happened to the Su family? What happened? Old man Su didn't die, did he? I heard that old man Su drank too much last night and suddenly didn't wake up. We invited a lot of spiritual doctors to see him, but it was useless. Your father has already rushed over. Bai Songling said gloatingly. They all heard that old man Su brought Su Yufeng back to the Yi family to bully Yi Jioga yesterday. That was why they wanted to use the body of the Su family's guard to do something. They didn't expect that old man Su would die before they could do anything. I see. Yi Jioga was slightly relieved. It was good that he didn't die. Miss Yi, old man Su fell ill after making trouble at your house yesterday. I'm afraid that the Su family will blame it on you. You have to be careful. Wan Ziang said. He had been investigating the Su family and knew that they were unreasonable scoundrels. It was possible that they would slander Yi Jioga. Different situations call for different actions. With Zishang around, the Su family should be the one to be careful. But Miss Yi, you don't need to worry too much. The cause of old man Su's illness is still unknown. I guess the Su family doesn't have time to care about other things. Bai Songling comforted her. Yes. Yi Jioga was glad that old man Su was only in a coma. If he really died suddenly, the Su family would definitely bite people everywhere like a mad dog. This is not a good place to talk. Why don't we go to the Yu Wu tea house? Bai Songling had something to ask Yi Jioga. Okay. Yi Jioga also had something to ask them for help. Miss Yi, get in the carriage first. I will go back and tell them to send the body back to the Su family. Bai Songling squinted her eyes and smiled. It'll make the Su family more trouble. Yes. Yi Jioga nodded. Bai Songling and Wan Ziang went to the Misty Rain tea house together after explaining everything. Bai Songling waited for the waiter to serve tea and snacks and told him something about the Su family. Then she asked Yi Jioga, by the way, Aunt Hongxiu sent a message yesterday saying that Nanny Su was missing. She couldn't find her in the entire harem. She guessed that something might have happened to Nanny Su. I wonder if Miss Yi has heard of this news? Ever since Yi Jioga revealed Wet Nurse Su's identity as an evil cultivator, Aunt Hongxiu had been paying close attention to her every move. Therefore, when they found out that she was missing, they immediately spread the news. Bai Songling compared the time and found that the day when Mammy Su disappeared was the day when Yi Jioga went into the demonic beast forest to collect herbs. She had some guesses in her heart. I haven't heard of this before. Do you think the Empress sent Nanny Su to do something else? Yi Jioga said casually. She was not worried that others would suspect her. After all, with her cultivation, it was impossible for her to kill Nanny Su no matter how she looked at it. She just needed to hide the demonic weapon, the Thunder Snake illusionary whip. Hearing what you said, I remember something. The Ministry of Penalty just received the news from Hepu County this morning, saying that female corpses were also found there 10 days ago. However, the courier station they sent the news was suddenly destroyed that day, so the Ministry of Penalty didn't get the news until now. Bai Songling had planned to go to Hepu County with Wan Ziang today to have a look. Do you suspect that these female corpses were done by Nanny Su? Yi Jioga asked. It shouldn't be her. The case in Hepu County and that in Heian County should be done by the same person. When the accident happened in Hepu County, Nanny Su was still in the palace. However, even if it wasn't Nanny Su, the murderer must be related to her. Maybe they are in cahoots with Su Junqing. But I don't know why they appeared in Thunder Country. Bai Songling had been thinking about this recently. The Su family, the Empress, and the Crown Prince are all related to the evil cultivator, which means that the evil cultivator wants something from them. Wan Ziang added. Yi Jioga subconsciously thought of the treasure map. At this time, she suddenly felt something strange on the chair to her left. It seemed that someone had accidentally touched her seat. Her heart skipped a beat as she knew that Yi Yu had arrived. She could even feel Yi Yu's messy breath. He must have thought of the treasure map. Yi Jioga was about to find an excuse to leave. Unexpectedly, Wan Ziang also noticed Yi Yu's strange behavior. He shouted to the corner behind Yi Jioga, "Who's there?" Bai Songling reacted very quickly. With a flash of green light in her hand, a green vine shot out instantly. Don't do it. He's one of us. Yi Jioga raised his hand to stop Bai Songling's vine. Wan Ziang, who was preparing a fireball, suddenly stopped and asked in confusion, "One of us? Yi Yu, come out." Yi Jioga turned to the corner and said. The shadow in the corner twisted, and Yi Yu's figure appeared. The Yi family? Unexpectedly, Wan Ziang recognized Yi Yu at a glance. Brother Wan, how do you know him? Yi Jioga asked curiously. The Crown Prince and the Su family have been looking for him. Even we have heard about it. Bai Songling and Wan Ziang worked in this field, so they knew a lot more than ordinary people. Why are the crown prince and the Su family looking for him? Yi Jiuge pretended to ask. She wanted to test whether Bai Songling and Wan Ziang knew about the treasure map. You'll have to ask young Master Yi, Wan Ziang said. It seemed that he didn't know anything. Yi Yu didn't say a word. He completely ignored Wan Ziang and Bai Songling. Ahem, it's fine if young Master Yi doesn't want to say it. I've heard that the Yi family's invisibility technique is extraordinary. It's really amazing today. Bai Songling saw the awkward atmosphere and quickly tried to smooth things over. You flatter me. Yi Yu only replied with 2 words for Yi Jiuge's sake. Wan Ziang looked at Yi Yu and suddenly said, Are you interested in going with me to investigate the whereabouts of the evil practitioners? He was too famous. Most of the time, the clues would be destroyed when he went to the place where the murder happened. He needed a partner to secretly cooperate with him. In the past it was Bai Songling who cooperated with him. But recently there were many things in Prince Dongling's mansion, so Bai Songling couldn't leave. He didn't like the people in the Ministry of Justice, so he turned to Yi Yu. Not interested. Yi Yu refused coldly. He didn't want to have anything to do with the people in the Ministry of Justice. If we can catch this evil practitioner, we might be able to find evidence that Su Junqing practices evil arts. When Wan Ziang said this, he looked at Yi Jiuge. He could see that Yi Yu trusted Yi Jiuge a lot. If Yi Jiuge spoke for him, Yi Yu would probably agree. Chapter 110. I want to talk to Yi Yu alone. Yi Jiuge said calmly. Okay. Wan Ziang and Bai Songling left the room immediately. Miss, you don't have to say anything. I won't go with them. Yi Yu said before Yi Jiuge could speak. He hated Su Junqing, not the heretic. Not even to save your sister? Yi Jiuge sighed. He didn't tell Yi Yu about Yi Yunji because he was worried it would affect his cultivation. But Wan Ziang was right. Su Junqing was too difficult to deal with. It was rare to find an arrogant and brainless heretic. If he could find him, he could get more clues. What do you mean, miss? Yi Yu's heart trembled. Sorry, I've been hiding it from you. Yi Jiuge told him what happened in the basement and said, if what the heretic said is true, Su Junqing should have sent your sister to a heretic who is more powerful than him. Yi Yu's face turned pale. The red mole between his eyebrows seemed to have lost its color. Then his body trembled and his breath became chaotic. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Yi Jiuge quickly helped Yi Yu to sit down. She felt his pulse and found that his cultivation had reversed. He was showing signs of qi deviation. She quickly used acupuncture to help Yi Yu adjust his qi. Yi Yu vomited a mouthful of blood. Then he regained his breath. Fortunately, he had been cultivating recently. Even if his mind became chaotic, he could quickly protect his dantian. I didn't dare to tell you before because I was afraid you couldn't stand it. Yi Jiuge sighed. Su Junqing was difficult enough to deal with. Now that Yi Yunji was in the hands of a heretic who was more powerful than Su Junqing, it was even more difficult to save her. What was more difficult was that they didn't even know who the heretic was. Where was he? They knew nothing. Yi Yu sat in the same place and said slowly after a while, Tell Wan Ziang that I'm willing to investigate the heretic with him. His sister was his only family in this world. Even if she did something irreparable, he should be the one to punish her on behalf of the family instead of letting her fall into the hands of the heretic. So no matter how difficult it was, he had to do it. Okay. Yi Jiuge knew that Yi Yu would agree, so he went out and called Wan Ziang in. Wan Ziang didn't know what Yi Jiuge said to Yi Yu, but looking at his pale face and gloomy eyes, he knew that it must have been something very painful. He could not help but think of himself and felt a sense of empathy for Yi Yu. The subtle enmity between him and Yi Yu from before had dissipated quite a bit. When does Big Brother Wan plan to set off to investigate the evil cultivators? Yi Jiuge asked. The sooner the better. Wan Ziang said. Bai Songling was in charge of the Ministry of Justice, so there was no need for him to worry. We will depart in an hour, Yi Yu said coldly. So fast. Bai Songling said with a bitter face. Wan Ziang was considered a pillar of the Ministry of Justice. If he suddenly left, he would be very busy. All right, we'll pack up and leave immediately. Wan Ziang nodded. He was very appreciative of Yi Yu's swift and decisive actions. That's right, Big Brother Wan, you don't need to hide this evil cultivator investigation anymore. It's best to spread this matter, the bigger the better. Yi Jiuge said. Why? Wan Ziang asked confusedly. If we don't make it bigger, how can we take the blame for Su Junqing in the future? Yi Jiuge was smiling, but her eyes were terrifyingly cold. She could not kill the people of the Su family because it would be very troublesome. Therefore, she could only think of ways to make them suffer more than death. If old Master Su knew that his most beloved and trusted grandson, Su Junqing, was an evil cultivator whose hands were stained with blood and who sold girls in a brothel, he would probably jump up even if he was in a coma. Wan Ziang thought for a while, then nodded slowly and said, I see. They had been suppressing this matter before because they were worried that if it was spread out, the people would panic, and some lawbreakers would take the opportunity to disturb the people, or swindle and collect money. But Yi Jiuge was right. If they did not make it bigger, Su Junqing was likely to escape even if they had something on him in the future. Water could carry a boat, but it could also capsize it. If they wanted to completely destroy the Su family, they had to make use of public opinion. Wan Ziang and Yi Yu had to hurry to Hepu County to investigate, so they planned to leave first and let Bai Songling take Yi Jiuge back. Before they left, Yi Yu told them one thing. Great-grandfather Su hadn't suddenly fainted when he was drunk, but when he went to the toilet. It was said that he was covered in feces from head to toe and almost suffocated to death in the toilet. What a disgusting piece of good news, Bai Songling said to Yi Jiuge with a smile. I don't think I can eat today. Yi Jiuge smiled and then said to Bai Songling, Brother Bai, I want to ask you to help me investigate someone. Oh, Bai Songling asked. The seventh concubine of the Yi family, Mu Xianglan, 20 years old, a beginner stage wood spirit practitioner. Yi Jiuge carefully told him the information about the seventh concubine. Why do you want to investigate this seventh concubine? Bai Songling felt very strange. There should be no conflict between father's concubine and her. I suspect that she is a spy placed in the Yi family by the empress. Yi Jiuge roughly told him that the seventh concubine had been monitoring him. Her Majesty's hand really extends too far. She even grabs the backyard of other people's house. Don't worry. I will definitely help you investigate this matter. Bai Songling immediately took it to heart when she heard that it was related to the empress. Thank you. Yi Jiuge knew that it was right to ask Bai Songling for this matter. His hatred for the empress was the same as Yi Yu's hatred for the Su family and Wan Ziang's hatred for the evil cultivator. After Yi Jiuge and Bai Songling said goodbye, they got on the carriage. He saw that Yu Dai and Hua Dai were sitting obediently in the car. They didn't ask too many questions and behaved quite well. Yi Jiuge was quite satisfied with them and decided to go back and say good things about them to Mother Qing. When she returned to Purple Forest Garden, she happened to see Mother Qing walking in the yard. She suddenly frowned. Who let you out? This old servant is about to go moldy, so I want to go out for a walk. Mother Qing smiled flatteringly. It's better to go moldy than to leave a root cause of illness. You are already so old, do you still want me to teach you? Yi Jiuge was really angry. This old servant knows her mistake. Mother Qing said with a bitter face. Usually she was the one nagging others. This time she was caught by Yi Jiuge and severely reprimanded. She was also complaining in her heart. The two servant girls, Yu Dai and Hua Dai, covered their mouths and snickered. Yi Jiuge turned around and ordered them, help Mother Qing in to rest. The two servant girls hurried over and intimately held Mother Qing's hand. They smiled flatteringly and said, Mother Qing, let us help you in. Yi Jiuge then went to the alchemy room. The fat black rat was still sleeping in her animal skin bag. This fat rat was in a state of deep sleep for most of the day. It was almost comparable to Zishang. You dare to compare this sovereign with this rat? You have guts. Zishang's lazy voice sounded. Chapter 111. Yi Jiuge didn't expect Zishang to wake up at this time. After a moment of daze, she immediately asked, Tell me, what did you do to old man Su? Nothing, I just sealed his 5 senses. Zishang said faintly. That's too cruel. Yi Jiuge was speechless. She knew Zishang was cruel, but she didn't expect him to be this cruel. Sealing one's 5 senses was isolating one's reaction to the outside world. Unable to speak, unable to move, unable to feel anything, but one's mind was still very clear. This feeling was as terrifying as sinking into the darkest sea. Old man Su was probably going crazy. I'm already very kind. If they were in the Yao clan, he had thousands of ways to make old man Su's life worse than death. Then I thank you on his behalf. Yi Jiuge said sincerely. I helped you vent your anger, don't you want to reward me? Zishang appeared and pulled Yi Jiuge into his arms. Did I beg you to go? Yi Jiuge pushed him away very coldly and heartlessly. This guy made her unable to sleep well last night, and now he had the face to ask for a reward. Giving him 2 slaps was more like it. Little Jiuge? Zishang's slender eyebrows slightly raised. That pair of dark purple eyes were like amethysts hidden deep in a mine, flashing with a mysterious light as he stared deeply at Yi Jiuge. Yi Jioga saw that Zishang's beautiful face was now a little pale, and she couldn't help but feel a trace of guilt. Zishang had to sleep for a few days to pass his power to her. This time, dealing with old man Su must have consumed even more Yao energy. No matter what, he was trying to help her, and it wasn't right for her to be so heartless to him. Take the reward. Yi Jioga extended his index finger and said very generously, suck as much as you want. Zishang looked at Yi Jioga's slender and white index finger and revealed a trace of a smile, as beautiful as a blooming epiphyllum in the night. This was the first time Yi Jioga voluntarily let her suck his blood. Although it wasn't what he wanted, it was better than nothing. Zishang put Yi Jioga's finger in his mouth, bit it with his sharp snake teeth and gently sucked. Yi Jioga was originally worried that he would cause trouble again. Seeing that he was obediently sucking blood, he felt a little uncomfortable, so he tried to find a topic to talk about. Do you have any way to make me stronger? This incident with old man Su had given her a wake-up call. She was considered powerful among rudimentary spiritualists, but there were stronger beings. She had to keep improving. Yes, as long as you dual cultivate with this sovereign can immediately make your cultivation soar. Zishang sucked on Yi Jioga's finger, his eyes staring straight at her, indescribably charming. Change it. Yi Jioga knew that this pervert was full of bad ideas. No more. Zishang let go of Yi Jioga's finger, stroked her head and said, you don't have to worry too much. This sovereign will not let you face such a situation alone again. I beg you, please leave me alone. Yi Jioga didn't want Zishang to suddenly go on a killing spree, causing her to be hunted down by the entire human race. Zishang's good intentions were treated as ill will, and his mood immediately turned sour. Both of his hands clasped onto her slender waist, wanting to deal with her. I'm warning you, don't provoke me. Yi Jioga raised her knee and struck Zishang's lower abdomen. She definitely wouldn't let this guy get his way so easily like last time. Just when the two of them were confronting each other, sparks flew in all directions. A tender voice came from under their feet. Pippi. Yi Jioga looked down and met with a pair of big watery eyes. The fat black rat took out 2 red fruits from its small bag, and looked at Zishang with a fawning look, as if it was offering a sacrifice to a god. What is this? Yi Jioga looked at the fruits that were emitting a faint fragrance, and instinctively knew that it was something good. Sacred origin fruit, it can quickly recover all of one's origin energy. He needed this thing right now, and this little thing was quite filial. Pippi. The fat black rat pushed the red fruit towards Zishang. That fawning look made Yi Jioga really unhappy. Zishang stretched out his finger and pointed. The 2 red fruits rose up and flew into his hand. The fat black rat heaved a sigh of relief at first, then immediately puffed out its fat chest, and glanced at Yi Jioga with a contemptuous and a little proud look. It looked as if the boss had found a backer, and little brother had to follow him. I really want to hit it, what should I do? Yi Jioga felt his hands itch. She had been raising it for the past few days, and it went to fawn over Zishang without even paying the food expenses. Did it know who its master was? Whatever. Zishang threw the fruit into its mouth. The fat black rat suddenly looked like it was struck by lightning. You said that you would protect me after receiving the fruit? What happened to the most basic trust between beasts? Fat black rat, have you figured out who's the boss? Yi Jioga grabbed the fat black rat by the back of its neck and brought it in front of him. Pippi. The fat black rat cried out aggrievedly, and covered its small bag with a pained expression. It couldn't bear to take anything out for a long time. Forget it, I don't want your protection fee. When I refine pills later, just help me purify the pill poison like yesterday. Yi Jioga felt that it was better for him to be more realistic. Pippi sauce. The fat black rat puffed out its fat chest, indicating that it still had a lot of saliva. Scram. Yi Jioga let go. The fat black rat immediately ran away. Where did you get this rank 5 spirit rat? Zishang asked. Rank 5 spirit rat, you mean that fat black rat just now? Yi Jioga expressed his doubt. How could that stupid look be a rank 5 spirit rat? Spirit beasts were much rarer than demonic beasts, and beasts that had awakened their spirit were all very intelligent. Rank 1 to 3 spirit beasts were very rare. Rank 4 to 6 spirit beasts would have their own innate abilities. Rank 7 powerful spirit beasts could even transform into a human and crush demonic beasts and humans of the same rank. And although it doesn't look like one, it is indeed a high-rank spirit beast. Zishang only read about Old Master Su last night before he got angry, so he didn't know the origins of the fat black rat and the small bronze cauldron. It brought a small broken cauldron and came to rely on me. Yi Jioga told him what happened in the demonic beast forest. Zishang carefully studied the small bronze cauldron, but unfortunately he couldn't see anything special about it. The material used to refine this medicine is something that I have never seen before in this continent, so it shouldn't be an ordinary material. However, it's damaged too much, so if I find a way to repair it, I should be able to guess its origin. Zishang said. Who cares about its origin? It's fine as long as it's useful. Yijioga was very busy, and he really didn't have time to investigate the origin of a rat and a small broken cauldron. And these were, after all, worldly possessions. As long as they didn't pose any threat to Yijioga, Zishang was too lazy to care about them. I'm going to refine pills, go away. Yijioga pushed Zishang away and prepared to start refining Noble Consort Shi's detoxification pill. Chapter 112. Yijioga took out the 1,000 silk grass that he had prepared beforehand. The 1,000 silk grass that had been soaked in the silk was green and glistening, emitting a faint glow. Not only did this spirit herb have a strong detoxifying effect, but it could also remove all kinds of waste from the human body. It was a very good spirit herb. However, it needed to be activated by another spiritual herb called the blackberry fruit in order to exert its detoxifying effect. So there weren't many alchemists who knew that the 1,000 silk grass could detoxify and remove stasis. They preferred to use the green algae flower to refine the detoxifying pill. Yijioga took out the blackberry fruit and 1,000 silk grass and placed them in the medicine bowl. He used his spirit force to create a large bowl of dark green solution. Then he used other supplementary spirit herbs to process them. Zishang sat on the mahogany chair next to him. He supported his forehead with one hand and his long black hair draped behind his head. His purple eyes stared unblinkingly at Yijioga. The snake tail swam around Yijioga, the tip of its coquettish tail unconsciously teasing the hem of her light green dress embroidered with jasper flowers, as if it wanted to seduce her. Honestly speaking, Yijioga's pill refining process was very dull and boring, but Zishang watched with relish. He found that he liked Yijioga more and more. She was a little willful, a little barbaric, a little venomous but a little self-reliant. Sigh, if I had known earlier, I wouldn't have restored her original appearance. In the past there were people who liked her even though she was ugly. Now that she was beautiful, wouldn't it be even more dangerous? Looks like I have to work harder to recover my demon power, lest I can't defeat more and more rivals in love in the future. Zishang seemed to have thought of something. Suddenly, his eyes narrowed and the corners of his mouth curled into a faint arc. The golden sunlight reflected a halo on his beautiful face, like a peach blossom in March, gentle and intoxicating, so beautiful that it took one's breath away. It was a pity that no one could appreciate such a beautiful scene. Once Yijioga entered alchemy mode, he would exclude everything from the outside world. She strictly calculated the amount of spirit herbs needed and meticulously placed them into the alchemy furnace. Then she began to adjust the alchemy fire. She was now going to customize a beautiful detoxification elixir for Noble Consort Shi, so it was very important to control the elixir fire. Apart from that, she also had to use her soul power to closely observe the changes in the medicinal ingredients in the pill furnace, ensuring that all the medicinal ingredients could perfectly fuse together again. The blazing pill flame made Yijioga's face red. Her limpid eyes stared intently at the pill furnace, as if she was looking at some kind of treasure. The black fat rat squatted beside Yijioga and looked at the pill furnace with a serious expression. Time ticked by. Zishang was finally tired of watching. His figure flashed and he returned to the mark in Yijioga's hand. Yijioga didn't notice it at all. He had been paying close attention to the situation of the pill furnace. He saw that the medicinal liquid inside had completely dissolved, turning into a crystal clear light green solution. The pale green liquid became more and more viscous, and its color turned dark green, and it began to fuse into the shape of a pill. Black fatty, go! Yijioga shouted and opened the pill furnace. The fat black rat darted over like a bolt of lightning, puffed up its cheeks, and spat a mouthful of colorless, odorless saliva towards the furnace. After the dark green liquid absorbed the fat black rat's saliva, it instantly split into two and condensed into two pills. The other pill was slightly bigger, about the size of a thumb. It was green and lustrous. It was the illusory beauty detoxification pill. The other one was only the size of a red bean. The dark red one was the pill poison. Yijioga gave the red pill poison to the fat black rat and stored the beauty illusion detoxification pill in a jade bottle. She glanced at the darkening sky outside the window. Although it was a bit late to go to the Dongling Prince's residence, the pill had just been refined and she wanted to quickly give it to Noble Consort Shi. Yijioga thought about it and decided to detoxify the poison as soon as possible. She believed that Dongfang Ke and noble consort Shi would be happy to see the detoxification pill. Yi Jioge went to find Bai Songling as usual, wanting him to secretly take her into the prince's residence. When Bai Songling learned that Yi Jioge had already refined noble consort Shi's detoxification pill, he said happily, "Your pill refining is really timely." "What do you mean?" Yi Jioge didn't understand. When she went to see noble consort Shi had recovered very well and didn't need to take the detoxification pill immediately. "You don't know, but the Empress is starting to cause trouble again," Bai Songling said. It turned out that after Nurse Su disappeared, the Empress was gloomy for a period of time, and suddenly said that she wanted to help the Emperor select a female. She also said that the harem hadn't had a new person for many years, and that there was no new royal bloodline, so she wanted to open a harem selection. Those who didn't know the truth would really think that the Empress was really thinking for the Emperor. However, they didn't know that there were no less than 10 concubines in the palace who had a miscarriage in the past few years, and there were countless palace maids who had been forced to give birth. Some palace maids were forced to give birth just because they were beautiful, and they hadn't even slept with the Empress yet. Under such circumstances, no one would believe that the Empress would help the Emperor reproduce. What did the Emperor say? Yi Jioge frowned and asked. She also felt that the Empress's actions were very strange. The Emperor said that there will be a pill refining competition in a month, and we will discuss it after the competition. But what man doesn't like the harem? Bai Songling's face flashed with undisguised contempt. It seemed that he had a lot of opinions about Emperor Shenwu. What does the Emperor's selection have to do with noble consort Shi's detoxification? Yi Jioge couldn't understand. If noble consort Shi returns to the harem, the Emperor will definitely not select a concubine, Bai Songling said with certainty. You already said that men like the harem, and noble consort Shi returning to the harem doesn't conflict with the Emperor's selection. Yi Jioge felt that Bai Songling valued noble consort Shi too much. If Emperor Shenwu really loved noble consort Shi that much, how could he allow her to be outside for more than 10 years? That's because you don't know what noble consort Shi means to the Emperor. Bai Songling smiled and said very meaningfully. In the past, when there were imperial concubines and noble consort Shi, Emperor Shenwu never selected a concubine. It was enough for him to have 2 concubines accompanying him. Later, when imperial concubine died of illness and noble consort Shi left the palace, Emperor Shenwu started a large-scale selection. Now that noble consort Shi had returned, Emperor Shenwu would definitely not select a concubine to protect his face. Okay, you're right. Then let's go to Dongling Wangfu and help noble consort Shi detoxification now. No matter what, as long as he could make the Empress unhappy, Yi Jioge was happy. When Bai Songling brought Yi Jioge to Dongling Wangfu through the secret passage of Yuwu Tea House, Dongfang Ke had just returned from the palace. Knowing that Yi Jioge had already refined the detoxification pill, he said very happily, "Her Highness shouldn't be asleep yet, it's the right time for you to go." Although the rotten flesh on noble consort Shi's face was much better, she still refused to see guests. Other than Nanny Zhou, only Yi Jioge could enter her courtyard at will. "Then I'll go first." After Yi Jioge said goodbye to Dongfang Ke and Bai Songling, he walked towards noble consort Shi's courtyard with familiarity. Chapter 113. Nanny Zhou had already known in advance that Yi Jioge was coming and was waiting outside the house. As soon as she saw Yi Jioge, she asked excitedly, "Miss Yi, you came so late. Is the antidote pill already refined?" "Yes." Yi Jioge took out the small jade bottle and shook it. "Thank God." Nanny Zhou's eyes moved involuntarily. Then she put her palms together and bowed to the sky. Then she bent her knees and was about to kneel to thank Yi Jioge. "Nanny, what are you doing? Get up." Yi Jioge quickly pulled Nanny Zhou up. "Eldest Miss Yi, you saved her ladyship's life. This old servant doesn't have anything to repay you. Let this old servant kowtow to you 3 times. Nanny Zhou was really grateful to Yi Jioge. If she didn't do something, she wouldn't be able to express her excitement. "Nanny Zhou, in terms of age, you can be my grandmother. Isn't kneeling to me too much? Don't ever mention such words again. Otherwise, I won't dare to come here in the future." Yi Jioge pretended to be angry. Nanny Zhou and Mother Qing were the same kind of people. They both treated their masters like their own daughters. No matter what they did, they would do it from the master's point of view. No matter how tired they were willing to endure it. Yi Jioge respected such people. "Okay, just pretend that this old servant didn't say anything like that." Nanny Zhou could see that Yi Jioge was sincere. She felt indescribably comfortable. She had been a servant all her life. Although others treated her with courtesy out of respect for noble consort Shi, No one had ever been like Yi Jioga, comparing her to his grandmother. She felt like drinking a cup of hot tea in winter. Her heart was warm. No wonder everyone liked such a good girl. Nanny Zhou put her gratitude in the bottom of her heart and quickly brought Yi Jioga into the house. Noble consort, she was walking around the house. She was so nervous that her palms were sweating. She had thought that it would take a lot of effort to cure this disease. She didn't expect that the final detoxification would start so soon. She was surprised and didn't know what to do. Hearing the sound of the door opening, she quickly sat back in the chair with a calm expression on her face. Yi Jioga saw Noble consort Shi's calm appearance and was very impressed. He bowed to her and said, "Jioga greets your highness." "Jioga, quickly sit." Noble consort Shi called out with a faint smile. She had been taking Yi Jioga's detoxification prescription all this time, and the rotten flesh on the right side of her face had completely scabbed over, turning into a huge black and red scar that looked like a mask. Although it still looked terrifying, it was much better than the oozing pus and rotting flesh from before. "Your Highness, are you ready?" Yi Jioga sat in front of Noble consort Shi. Although she had made countless preparations for what might happen during this detoxification process. "Your Highness, feel free to take it." "I'm here," Yi Jioga said slowly. Yi Jioga didn't say anything to guarantee, nor did he make an expression that said "you have to believe me," but Noble consort Shi inexplicably felt at ease. Noble consort Shi pinched the dark green pill and put it into her mouth. She didn't know if it was the reflection of the candlelight or something else. Noble consort Shi's bright red nails suddenly flashed with a dark green light, but it quickly disappeared. Yi Jioga's heart jumped, and a message seemed to flash through his mind. But after thinking about it carefully, he couldn't think of what it was. He could only stare at Noble consort Shi and observe her every move. After Noble consort Shi swallowed the pill, she only felt that the illusory beauty detoxification pill dissolved in her mouth. It turned into a sweet warm current that entered her stomach and began to expel the remaining illusory beauty poison in her body. The detoxification process was like a small shovel eradicating the garbage stuck to her meridians. Although it was very painful, under the cold anesthetic effect of the blue jade seaweed, it was still bearable. Noble consort, she could clearly feel the small shovel following her meridians to her fingertips. After the illusory beauty detoxification pill touched her fingertips, it suddenly exploded with a bang. It was like a spark falling into an oil barrel. The rolling heat spread wildly along her fingertips, and she couldn't help but scream in pain. At this time, Noble consort, she truly realized what the pain of 1,000 cuts that Yi Jioga mentioned felt like. Chapter 114. Yi Jioga looked at Noble consort Shi's skin, which instantly turned as red as a cooked shrimp, and finally knew what the thought that had just flashed through his mind was. There was something wrong with Noble consort Shi's nails. At this time, Imperial concubine Shi's nails had already turned from bright red to a strange dark green color, but they still emitted a faint fishy smell. It was the unique smell of green toads. Needless to say, it must be the spirit doctor who gave Imperial consort Shi the fake medicine. He made the green toad's poison into henna and painted it on Noble consort Shi's fingernails. The green toad's poison and Noble consort Shi's beauty illusion antidote were perfectly compatible. As long as Noble consort Shi takes Huan Mei's antidote, the poison will immediately take effect. Because the green toad's poison was too small and it was mixed with the henna, even she had overlooked it. Yi Jioga opened his spiritual eye and observed Noble consort Shi's body. The meridians in her body were all blocked by the green toad's poison. If she didn't clear it, the green toad's poison would break through her body and she would die. "Your Highness, you endured it." Yi Jioga took out the thunder fire needle with a grave expression and used the fastest speed to insert it into Noble consort Shi's body. Ever since she had unsealed the heart of the sealed tree of God to save Dongfang Ke, the thunder fire needle also had a sliver of life energy, and its effects were many times stronger than before. The red thunder fire needles with purple light fell on Noble consort Shi's body like raindrops. Every time, the needles were accurately pricked into the acupoints, bringing out a little dark green blood bead. Noble consort Shi only felt the heat in her body increase as Yi Jioga's acupuncture technique increased. The pain in her body continued to increase. It was simply enough to drive someone crazy. Yi Jioga's face was dark, and his heart was burning with anxiety. The anesthetic effect of the blue jade seaweed didn't last long. If she couldn't force out the green toad's poison before then, Noble consort Shi wouldn't be able to hold on. In this situation, the blue jade seaweed couldn't play a role. Everything could only depend on Noble consort Shi's will. Yi Jioga madly circulated the spiritual power in his body. The thunder fire needle in her hand flashed like a shadow, and in the blink of an eye, 81 needles fell on Imperial Consort Shi's body. Imperial Consort Shi's entire body was covered in dark green blood beads. She looked like a bloody person. The poisonous blood soaked the hem of Yi Jioga's dress, and the stench filled the bathroom. Nanny Zhou had been watching them nervously. She instinctively sensed that something was wrong with the situation. In particular, the Empress's expression was becoming more and more abnormal. She had never seen the Empress in such pain and confusion, as if she had already given up on living. Nanny Zhou's guess was right. Noble consort, she had already given up the will to live under the torture of pain. What was the point of persevering like this? She had failed to detoxify the poison, so she had to return to her previous days of being neither human nor ghost. If that was the case, then she might as well die. Nanny Zhou was shocked. She quickly knelt beside Imperial Consort Shi and shouted anxiously, "Your Highness, you must not give up." Noble Consort Shi shook her head unconsciously, as if saying that she could not hold on any longer. "Nanny Zhou, think of a way to help the Empress hold on," Yi Jioga quickly ordered. She was so close to forcing the green toad's poison out of Noble Consort Shi's body. Nanny Zhou immediately raised her voice and shouted miserably, "Your Highness, have you forgotten how the Empress hurt you? How can you abandon me before you take revenge?" Noble Consort Shi was still shaking her head. She couldn't take revenge, so she could only let K.R. do it. Nanny Zhou's face turned pale. She hesitated for a moment and finally shouted with a trembling voice, "Your Highness, even if you don't do it for yourself, you have to avenge the little master. She was killed by the Empress before she grew up in your belly. If you go like this, how can you face the little master in the underworld?" What little master?" Noble Consort Shi unconsciously turned her head in the direction of Nanny Zhou, as if she was asking something. "When the Imperial Consort died, weren't you dizzy and nauseous and couldn't eat anything? Miss Yi said that you were pregnant. Later, the bleeding was not because of detoxification, but because the little master had a miscarriage." Nanny Zhou choked with sobs. "It's all because I'm useless. I didn't find out that you were pregnant and let the Empress hurt the little master." When Noble Consort Shi heard this, the veins on her palms bulged, and she suddenly grabbed the bedsheet under her. Her well-maintained long nails scraped against the bed, making a sharp sound. The longest nail even broke into two. It could be seen that she hated the Empress to the extreme. Yi Jioga seized the opportunity and used the thunder fire needle on the last few acupuncture points of Noble Consort Shi. Streams of dark green poisonous blood spurted out, quickly turning bright red. Finally succeeded. Yi Jioga's vision turned black and she almost fell to the ground. She quickly protected the bed frame and stabilized her body. She had used up too much spiritual power and had opened her spiritual eye for too long. She really couldn't hold on any longer. Your Highness, are you all right?" Nanny Zhou wanted to help the Empress wipe her body, but she didn't know where to start. She was afraid of touching the wounds on her body. "The Empress is fine. Help her wipe her body with hot water and give her 2 Peiyuan pills," Yi Jioga said weakly with her eyes closed. "Miss Yi, are you all right?" Only then did Nanny Zhou realize that something was wrong with Yi Jioga. "I'm fine. I'm just tired. Go and serve the Empress. I'll be fine after resting for a while." Yi Jioga used the last of her strength to walk to the side of the chair and sat down. Only then did she feel better. Nanny Zhou used 6 buckets of hot water to wash the dirt off Noble Consort Shi's body. After helping Noble Consort Shi put on a clean bathrobe, she quickly fed her 2 Peiyuan pills. Noble Consort Shi's pale face regained a trace of color. Her long and thick eyelashes blinked and she slowly opened her eyes. "Your Highness, how do you feel?" Seeing that Noble Consort Shi had woken up, Nanny Zhou's heart finally calmed down. "You just said that this consort was pregnant before. What's going on?" Noble Consort Shi's gaze was like a sharp sword as she stared at Nanny Zhou. Nanny Zhou's face paled as if someone had poured a bucket of cold water on her head. She looked at Noble Consort Shi's slightly red eyes and said with trembling lips, "When the Imperial Consort passed away, you felt nauseous and vomited because you were pregnant." Before Nanny Zhou could finish speaking, Noble Consort Shi suddenly sat up straight and raised her hand to slap Nanny Zhou. There was a loud smack. Nanny Zhou's wrinkled face was slapped to the side. Nanny Zhou, who was slapped, was fine, but Noble Consort Shi, who hit her, fell heavily on the bed. She was like a fish that had jumped onto the shore. After its death struggle, there was only pain left. "Your Highness, you can hit me and scold me, but don't hold it in." Nanny Zhou knelt beside Noble Consort Shi's bed and cried. Chapter 115. My child, my child. Imperial Consort Shi's face was covered in tears. Her throat was choking with pain and her entire body was trembling. She felt like her heart was being stabbed by a knife. It was thousands of times more painful than being poisoned. The child that she had missed so much was in her womb, but she had never discovered it. The child had disappeared from this world without a trace. There was no name, no memorial tablet, no one even shed tears for him, no one was grieving for him, no one was grieving for him. She had only discovered it 16 years later. How could she face her child in the underworld in the future? Nanny Zhou was sobbing at the side, and her sadness filled the entire bathroom. Yi Jiuge couldn't help but sigh. She didn't know how to comfort the master and servant. She glanced around the bathroom and found that Nanny Zhou had prepared a mirror in the corner. She probably wanted to show it to Imperial Consort Shi after the detoxification was over. The mirror was very exquisite. The back was made of red sandalwood with lotus flowers and branches carved on it. The surface of the mirror was polished from crystal. It was so bright that it could reflect one's reflection. Yi Jiuge picked up the crystal mirror and came in front of Imperial Consort Shi. He said softly, "Your Highness, you can't make up for the past anymore. You can only look forward. Fortunately, no matter what you want to do now, you have the ability to do it." After saying that, he placed the mirror in front of Imperial Consort Shi. Imperial Consort Shi looked up and saw a beautiful woman reflected in the crystal mirror. Her skin was as white as jade, and her eyes were filled with pain and tears, but she was indescribably gentle and moving. Not only had she recovered her appearance, but she was even more beautiful than 16 years ago. The beauty illusion poison has such an effect. As long as one can endure the pain of being dismembered, they can obtain a new life. Yi Jiuge believed that when the Empress saw the current Imperial Consort Shi, she would definitely hate her to the core. A new life. Imperial Consort Shi muttered to herself. The beauty in the mirror's expression slowly became firm, and her eyes were burning with hatred. Her beautiful face was covered with a resentful expression, like a scorpion with a poisonous needle, ready to devour people at any time. Yi Jiuge was shocked. He was really afraid that Imperial Consort Shi wouldn't be able to suppress her emotions and enter the palace to fight with the Empress. However, Imperial Consort Shi quickly recovered her normal expression. Her full lips were red like a pill and she smiled beautifully. Dongfang Yen Shui Mingzhu, I'm back. After saying that, he closed his eyes and fainted. Your Highness, what's wrong? Nanny Zhou hurriedly straightened her body and looked towards Yi Jiuge in panic. Eldest miss, quickly take a look at her ladyship. Yi Jiuge stepped forward to take her pulse. Seeing that she was only unconscious due to exhaustion, he said, Nyang Nyang is fine. She will be fine after a nap. Nanny Zhou breathed a sigh of relief. Her body went limp and she sat on the ground. Nanny, stop kneeling. Yi Jiuge helped Nanny Zhou up and advised, Nyang Nyang still needs you to serve her. If you fall, she will have no one to rely on. Eldest miss is right. Nanny Zhou wiped her eyes and took a deep breath. She hid all the sadness, pain, and exhaustion in her heart. If it wasn't for the fact that she had been cultivating all these years and her body was still considered strong, she probably wouldn't have been able to withstand the emotional ups and downs. Nanny, send noble Consort Shi back to rest first. I'll go out and tell His Highness the Prince of Dongling lest he worries, said Yi Jiuge. Noble Consort Shi's poison had been completely expelled. The next step was to quietly recuperate. Okay, eldest miss, there is hot water and new clothes over there. You should also change your clothes. Nanny Zhou looked at Yi Jiuge, who was covered in blood. Yi Jiuge's figure was about the same as noble Consort Shi's, so he should be able to wear her clothes. Okay, I'll change later. Only then did Yi Jiuge discover that his body was covered in the smell of noble Consort Shi's poison. Then this old servant will leave first. Nanny Zhou used a blanket to wrap noble Consort Shi up and carried her back to the room. Yi Jiuge simply wiped his body, picked a lotus blue dress and put it on. Then he walked out of the courtyard. Dongfang Ke and Bai Songling were waiting outside the courtyard. Seeing Yi Jiuge come out with a change of clothes and a face full of exhaustion, Dongfang Ke immediately asked worriedly, did something happen? And something went wrong when I was detoxifying the poison. I almost failed at the last moment. It's all my fault for not checking clearly before. Yi Jiuge told him about the green toad's poison. These days she had placed all her attention on noble Consort Shi's injuries and the poison of beauty illusion. She had indeed been negligent. The Empress is vicious and meticulous, and the poison she uses is very strange. It's normal that you didn't discover it. Dongfang Ke wasn't comforting Yi Jiuge. He had been poisoned by the Empress before, so he understood her methods very well. Often, after you thought you had detoxified the poison in your body, you would discover that another poison had just started. That's right. Miss Yi, it's a good thing that you came to detoxify Her Highness. If it was someone else, they probably wouldn't even have the chance to save her. Although Yi Jioga didn't explain the detoxification process, Bai Songling could tell from her pale face and tired figure that the detoxification process was very dangerous. Just now, in order to let Her Highness persevere, I told her about her miscarriage. I'm afraid that her mood will be very bad during this period of time. You guys have to pay more attention. Yi Jioga instructed. Although the poison in noble consort Shi's body had been detoxified, it was still very important to take care of her. If she didn't take care of it well, there might be some side effects. Don't worry, I'll take good care of Her Highness. Dongfang Ke treated noble consort Shi as his own family, so he would naturally take good care of her. Alright, I'll go back first. If anything happens to noble consort Shi, you guys can come and inform me. Yi Jioga was so tired that it was hard for her to even speak. She just wanted to return to Purple Forest Park and have a good sleep. Songling, send Miss Yi back. Dongfang Ke instructed Bai Songling. Yes. Bai Songling brought Yi Jioga out of the Dongling Princess Palace and personally sent her back to the back door of the Yi residence. Only then did Yi Jioga enter through the back door. As soon as she entered the room, she fell asleep and only woke up at noon. Mother Qing came in a few times to take a look. Seeing that Yi Jioga was sleeping soundly, she couldn't bear to wake her up. She could only order Pearl to guard the door and immediately call her if Miss woke up. After Yi Jioga woke up, Mother Qing didn't ask anything and immediately prepared a table full of good dishes to serve her. Yi Jioga had just eaten halfway when Pearl walked in from outside with a black invitation in her hand. She said, "Miss, this is an invitation that Lord Wan's residence just sent over." Yi Jioga put down her bowl and chopsticks, took the invitation and looked at it. It was by Songling's handwriting, telling her to go to Yuwu Tea House in the afternoon. Could it be that something happened to noble consort Shi? Yi Jioga didn't have the mood to eat anymore, so she changed her clothes and prepared to go out. Chapter 116. Eldest Miss, no matter how important this date is, you can't ignore your health. Mother Qing couldn't help but say. She knew that Eldest Miss, Wan Darren and Bai Darren weren't just chatting, there were other important matters to attend to. But no matter how important those matters were, they couldn't leave early and return late like this. It's fine, I'm in good health. Yi Jioga said. She just missed 2 meals, she wouldn't starve to death. You're not a pill refiner from the Ministry of Justice. Why do they come to you for everything? Mother Qing muttered with dissatisfaction. Every time Eldest Miss came back from Yuwu Tea House, she would either go out to pick herbs or refine pills in the pill refining room. No matter how stupid she was, she knew that Wan Xiang and Bai Songling came to find Eldest Miss for pills. Originally, she thought that the two of them were good son-in-laws, but now it seemed that they weren't anything good. Helping them is also helping me. Alright, don't worry about it so much. Yi Jioga changed his clothes and went out alone in the carriage. Bai Songling was already waiting in the room of Yuwu Tea House. When she saw Yi Jioga, she said apologetically, "Eldest Miss, sorry for troubling you. Brother Bai is too polite. Did something happen to Imperial Consort Shi?" Yi Jioga asked. Sigh, Bai Songling sighed heavily and said, "Her Highness said that she wants to return to the palace now." Now, Yi Jioga was shocked. Imperial Consort Shi had just finished detoxifying last night and didn't even have the strength to speak. What did she want to do now? Yes, His Highness persuaded her for a long time, but she still insisted on returning to the palace immediately. His Highness really had no choice but to come to you for help. In fact, Imperial Consort Shi had already been making a fuss this morning. They dragged it out until now to find Yi Jioga because they were worried that it would affect her rest. Alright, I'll go with you now. Yi Jioga knew that the matter of the child must have stimulated Imperial Consort Shi. Right now, Imperial Consort Shi was eager for revenge and couldn't wait a second longer. It was just that with her current body, it would be extremely dangerous for her to enter the tiger's den. Yi Jioga rushed to the prince's residence. Before he could take off his cloak, he was hurriedly pulled into the courtyard by Nurse Zhou. "Eldest Miss, please go and persuade her ladyship. His Highness can't hold them back any longer." Yi Jioga quickly walked towards the courtyard and saw Dongfang Ke blocking the entrance from afar. Noble consort She stood in front of Dongfang Quebec. Her hair was combed into an auspicious cloud bun, and she wore a golden phoenix hairpin inlaid with jewels. She was dressed in a black gold embroidered robe with phoenix patterns, and she wore red phoenix wing satin shoes. She was dressed like an imperial consort, which was enough to show how determined she was to return to the palace. Although she had applied rouge on her face, it was unable to conceal her pale complexion. Her straight back was also trembling slightly. Her voice was as cold as ice as she said to Dongfang Ke, "Move aside, don't make this consort repeat myself. Your Highness, I can't let you go back and die like this." Dongfang Ke shook his head. He had been persuading her for a long time, saying all the good and bad things, but noble consort, she just wouldn't listen. He could only block her at the door. "You don't need to worry about my life or death." Noble consort, she's expression was fierce, and her voice was filled with blood. "You can stop me now, but you can't stop me forever. If this consort is determined to go out, it's useless no matter how you try to stop me." The Dongling princely residence wasn't completely united. If she was forced into a corner, all she had to do was shout and a spy would immediately send the news into the palace. At that time, even if Dongfang Ke wanted to stop her, it would be useless. Dongfang Ke also knew this, so he didn't dare to be too forceful. He only persuaded, "Your Highness, even if you want to leave, you have to let young Miss Yi treat you first." "There's no need. This consort will remember Jyoga's kindness to this consort. If there's a chance in the future, I'll naturally repay it." Noble consort, she didn't want to see Yi Jyoga. As long as she saw Yi Jyoga, she would remember the pain of losing her child. This pain deeply tormented her, and she couldn't rest for even a moment. Right now, she just wanted to immediately return to the palace and let her enemies have a taste of this feeling. Thinking of this, noble consort, she no longer hesitated. She lifted her foot and walked towards the door. She made up her mind that if Dongfang Ke still dared to stop her, then he couldn't blame her for being ruthless. "Your Highness." Seeing this, Yi Jyoga hurriedly walked into the courtyard. "Young Miss Yi, you've finally come." Dongfang Ke couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. "Jyoga." Noble consort, she looked at Yi Jyoga and said resolutely, "You don't need to persuade me. No matter what you say, I'm going back to the palace." "Your Highness, I'm not here to persuade you." Yi Jyoga had already thought of an excuse on the way here. He knew that noble consort, she had already made up her mind, so it was useless to say anything now. "It's fine if you want to return to the palace, but the inner palace isn't like the princely residences. If the Empress poisons you again, even if I have 3 heads and 6 arms, I won't be able to rush into the inner palace to save you. So please wait a few days. I'll think of a way to get something that can identify poison for you to bring into the palace. What do you think?" "That's right, Your Highness, we're going back to take revenge. We can't fall for that evil woman's tricks before we even get our revenge." Nanny Zhou also tried to persuade. She had followed the Empress for so many years and knew her personality very well. If she tried to persuade her to rest and recuperate, she definitely wouldn't listen because she had already disregarded her own life and death. But if it was under the banner of revenge, the Empress might still listen to it. Noble consort, she hesitated for a moment and said to Yi Jyoga, "After you think of a way, you can tell me after you enter the palace." "Your Highness, do you think I can still stay at home and think of a way if you return to the palace like this?" Yi Jyoga said helplessly. She could already imagine the scene of noble consort, she being poisoned by the Empress as soon as she returned to the palace. "Your Highness, sharpening the knife doesn't delay the work of cutting firewood. The arrangements in the palace aren't complete yet. It's not the best time for you to return." Dongfang Ke tried to persuade her. Noble consort, she didn't say anything. It seemed that she hadn't completely given up. Yi Jyoga thought about it and slowly said, "Also, Your Highness, returning to the palace like this is too degrading. In my opinion, we should have the Emperor personally go to the Imperial Temple to pick you up. We should have a 10-mile red carpet to welcome you back to the palace. Only then would we be able to slap the Empress in the face." A 10-mile red carpet was something the Empress would only have when she returned to the palace. If noble consort, she returned to the palace like this, she could indeed step on the Empress. Noble consort, she's beautiful eyes lit up and she slowly nodded. Jyoga is right. Since she was going back for revenge, she had to have a beautiful opening. In order to see the Empress' ugly face, she didn't mind waiting a few more days. "Your Highness, then I'll send you back to the Imperial Temple tomorrow and then send someone to tell Father that you've recovered your appearance." Seeing that noble consort, she's attitude had softened, Dongfang Ke finally let out a sigh of relief. "I'll write a personal letter now and have someone pass it to the Emperor. Send me back to the Imperial Temple tonight, noble consort," she said decisively. Chapter 117. "All right." Dongfang Ke nodded. As long as noble consort, she didn't immediately return to the palace, everything else could be discussed. "Your Highness, since we're going back to the Imperial Temple, Why don't we let First Miss take your pulse again? Nanny Zhou took the opportunity to say. Sorry for troubling Jioga. Noble consort, she looked at Yi Jioga apologetically. She wasn't purposely tormenting him. It was just that she couldn't suppress the hatred in her heart and couldn't care less about anything else in her impulsive state. Your Highness is too polite. Yi Jioga accompanied Noble consort Shi back to the inner chamber and began to feel her pulse. Noble consort Shi's pulse was weak, and her internal organs had not been adjusted yet. She still needed to rest quietly. Her ladyship didn't sleep well last night, Nanny Zhou said in a low voice. Last night, Noble consort Shi woke up in the middle of the night. As she cried, she recalled the symptoms of pregnancy at that time and scolded herself for being careless. After crying, she began to dress up and said that she wanted to return to the palace. It could be said that she did not sleep for the whole night. Your Highness, don't worry and take care of yourself. Yi Jioga looked at Noble consort Shi and said. If he continued like this, his body wouldn't be able to take it. Jioga, don't listen to Nanny Zhou's nonsense. I know my body, there's nothing wrong with it. Noble consort Shi stopped. She had endured so much suffering in the past, so a night without sleep was nothing to her. No matter what, I need to recuperate first. Yi Jioga knew that it was impossible for Noble consort Shi to rest quietly. She picked up the pen and wrote a prescription for Noble consort Shi to rest and then said seriously, Your Highness, don't blame me for speaking harshly. Food and sex are human nature. When you go back to the palace, you have to rely on this face to win over the emperor. If you don't sleep well at night, you will easily become old and ugly. Hearing this, imperial consort Shi couldn't help but touch her face. She immediately nodded and said, I know, I'll definitely take good care of myself. She was still waiting to meet the empress and see her regretful face. Don't worry, Miss Yi. I will make sure her ladyship takes it on time. Nanny Zhou took the prescription and decided to make it for her ladyship as soon as she returned to the imperial temple tonight. Noble consort Shi still had to rush back to the imperial temple, so Yi Jioga didn't say anything else and quickly took his leave. She left the courtyard and seeing that Dongfang Ke was still waiting outside, she gave him a look. Dongfang Ke tactfully brought her to the study and asked, How does eldest Miss Yi plan to help the Empress test for poison? If it's not too troublesome, can you help me get one as well? In reality, Dongfang Ke was very wary of the Empress' strange poisons that did not have strong layers. If there was a way to prevent it, it would be for the best. I need to go back and think about it. Yi Jioga had only thought of it perfunctorily to appease Noble consort Shi. He still didn't know what to do. She had never come into contact with refining weapons before, so she had to ask Zishang when she returned. Eldest Miss, if there's anything you need, please let me know. Dongfang Ke said sincerely. Yi Jioga saved Noble consort Shi, so he really wanted to pay Yi Jioga's consultation fee. But giving him silver was too tacky, and giving him other things was worrying that Yi Jioga wouldn't like it. I really need a spirit fruit called the Sacred Origin Fruit right now. I wonder if your highness can help me get it? Yi Jioga wanted that Sacred Origin Fruit for Zishang. Miss Yi, please wait a moment. I'll check if there are any in the storeroom. Dongfang Ke called old He over. After carefully checking the storeroom's booklet, there really was the Sacred Origin Fruit that Yi Jioga wanted. Many thanks. Yi Jioga received the Sacred Origin Fruit and returned to Purple Forest Park. Then he started to call Zishang. After Zishang appeared, he circled around Yi Jioga as usual. He rested his chin on her head and asked lazily, What's the matter? Yi Jioga was already numb from being hugged by him. She didn't move and asked, Do you have a way to make a spirit tool for Noble consort Shi to identify the Empress poison? What are the benefits? Zishang asked. Don't ask for benefits so easily. Talking about money hurts feelings. Do you understand? Yi Jioga rolled her eyes. This sovereign only knows how to talk about feelings hurts money. Zishang bit Yi Jioga's small face. The little girl was still too naive to think of using psychological methods on him. Benefits, take it. Yi Jioga wiped her face in disgust and took out a box of Sacred Origin Fruit. This Sacred Origin Fruit was obtained by Dongfang Ke and the Bai clan from the demonic beast battlefield. He didn't know what use it had, so he kept it in the storeroom. Zishang lowered his head and saw that there were a total of 5 thumb-sized Sacred Origin Fruits in the wooden box in Yi Jioga's hands. Although they weren't as old as the fat black mouses, they were still rare. However, the rarest thing was Yi Jioga's sincerity. She had only eaten it once, but she remembered that it was good for him. Yi Jioga saw that Zishang didn't make a move and thought that he didn't need the Sacred Origin Fruit anymore. She was a little disappointed and asked, Other than the Sacred Origin Fruit, Is there anything else that can recover your demonic power? Tell me, I'll help you look for it in the future. Instead of giving her body to Zishang every time, Yi Jioge would rather work hard to help Zishang collect the things he needed. No need, this sacred origin fruit is enough. Zishang picked up the few sacred origin fruits and placed them in his mouth. The things he needed were things that Yi Jioge couldn't get with her current strength. It was already good enough that she could get a few fruits to nourish him. Then how can I refine the spirit tool that can detect poison? After eating the fruit, he should give her the answer. Refining requires a foundation. If you want to learn how to refine in a few days, you should save it. Zishang glanced at Yi Jioge. It wasn't that he looked down on Yi Jioge, but he was biting off more than he could chew. It wasn't the time for her to learn how to refine. Then other than refining, is there any other way? Yi Jioge didn't really have to refine. She was still busy concocting pills, so how could she have the time to learn how to refine? This sovereign has a way to let your imperial consort she quickly learn how to identify poison. Seeing that the sacred origin fruit was enough, Zishang gave Yi Jioge an idea. In this world, there's a kind of insect called the poison earth dragon. It's extremely sensitive to poison. As long as it sees poison, it will become scared and flee. You can try this. I'll look for it now. Yi Jioge had also heard of the poison earth dragon. Usually it would be used to concoct pills after it was dried and ground into powder, but it was rare to see it alive. Fortunately, some pharmacies would usually keep some of them, so Yi Jioge quickly got a few poison earth dragons back. The poison earth dragon looked like a newly hatched bee larva. It was white and plump, lying motionlessly in the wooden tube. Yi Jioge poured the poison earth dragon on the table, then casually took out a leprosy grass and placed it in front of it to test. This leprosy grass grew like a wheat stalk. Although it wasn't very poisonous, it was colorless and tasteless. After eating it, it would cause the limbs to be numb. It was also a commonly used herb to concoct poison pills. The poison earth dragon raised its head and looked at the leprosy grass. Then it slowly wriggled on the spot and no longer had any reaction. Yi Jioge was instantly speechless. If he wanted to rely on this thing to identify poison, he was afraid that he would need someone to keep a close eye on it at all times. Wasn't this a joke? This is what you meant by, as long as it sees poison, it will become scared and flee? Yi Jioge threw the leprosy grass on the table. He felt that Zishang might have misunderstood the word, flee. Chapter 118. Your poison earth dragon's rank is too low. If you can find one above rank 3, it naturally wouldn't have such a reaction. Zishang said coldly. He had already given her the method. Could she blame him if she couldn't find it? Are you sure there really is a rank 3 poison earth dragon in this world? Yi Jioge had already asked the people at the pharmacy. They said that this poison earth dragon only had 15 days of lifespan. It was impossible for it to advance. I've seen it in the monster race. Zishang said mysteriously. However, that rank 3 poison earth dragon had obtained a huge opportunity to advance. It was impossible for a small place like Thunder Country to have one. Monster race? Why don't you say Tian race? Yi Jioge rolled his eyes. Zishang wouldn't admit that his idea wasn't reliable. He thought about it and said, actually, you can use this bug in another way. What way? Yi Jioge asked. Let that imperial consort she swallow the poison earth dragon. As long as she touches the poison earth dragon will wriggle in her stomach. After she spits out the poison, the chance of being poisoned will naturally decrease. Zishang felt that this idea wasn't bad. Although the poison earth dragon didn't have a long lifespan, it was cheap and easy to raise. Eating 1.5 a month wasn't a problem. You want me to take this bug and let imperial consort she swallow it alive? Yi Jioge felt disgusted just thinking about it. It was even more impossible for imperial consort she to do such a thing. I've given you the method. Whether she uses it or not is up to her. Zishang said coldly. Testing for poison and also making it comfortable. How could there be such a good thing? Is there really no other way? Yi Jioge didn't give up and asked. You can still learn to forge, but it will take at least 3 years. Zishang said. 3 years? Imperial consort she had probably died no less than a few hundred times. When it's a matter of life and death, who cares if she's disgusted or not? As long as it's useful. Zishang didn't like Yi Jioge's personality. Alright. Yi Jioge had no other way. She looked at the white fat bug on the table and went to find Bai Songling. Isn't this the poison earth dragon? Why did you bring this bug here? Bai Songling immediately recognized the white fat bug in Yi Jioge's hand and asked curiously. Cough cough. Yi Jioga coughed twice before saying in a serious tone, "Didn't you ask me how to help noble consort Shi identify poisons? This earth poison dragon is the key. I'd like to hear the details." Bai Songling said seriously with a serious expression. When he heard Yi Jioga's method, Jun's face twitched a little, and he couldn't help but ask, "Did you just say swallowing alive?" Yi Jioga nodded seriously. Bai Songling couldn't help swallowing his saliva and asked, "Do you have to swallow it alive? Can't you eat it after steaming or frying it?" "No, it won't work if it dies." Yi Jioga shook his head. What he wanted was the feeling of the worm wriggling in his stomach. Bai Songling looked at the earth poison dragon, then at Yi Jioga and asked with difficulty, "Are we really going to give it to noble consort Shi like this?" He was afraid that noble consort Shi would throw the worm at his face. Yi Jioga silently placed the earth poison dragon in Bai Songling's hands. Anyway, she had already thought of a way. Whether she could convince noble consort Shi would depend on her. "Well, I'll try it first and see if it really works." Bai Songling sighed, resigned to his fate. It was already good that Yi Jioga could come up with a way. They really didn't have the right to be picky. Brother Bai is a true warrior. Yi Jioga praised him with a thumbs up. "Don't make fun of me." Bai Songling glared at Yi Jioga snappily. Although his part-time job was a coroner, it didn't mean that he could tolerate this kind of soft and disgusting thing. Yi Jioga looked at Bai Songling's heroic appearance and kindly comforted him. "You don't have to be so painful. This earth poison dragon is also a commonly used traditional Chinese medicine. You must have eaten it before. There's no difference." "I want to give them a bath. Can I soak it in wine?" Bai Songling asked. It didn't feel so disgusting to eat it with wine. "Yes." Yi Jioga nodded. The earth poison dragon's vitality was actually very tenacious. It was very difficult to kill it before it died of old age. Bai Songling took out the strongest newer Hong and picked 2 earth poison dragons that he thought were the cleanest. He soaked them in the wine and then swallowed them with his eyes closed. Yi Jioga looked at Bai Songling's Adam's apple moving and could not help but ask, "How does it taste?" "It smells like wine," Bai Songling said with a crying face. "Apart from the smell of wine, do you feel uncomfortable?" This was the key point. "It's okay. It just feels shabby and disgusting." Bai Songling shook his head. No one would feel good after swallowing a live worm. "Then let's talk about it first. If you feel disgusted now, it will affect the test. Let's talk about something else. By the way, did the Bai family find the fire dragon grass?" Yi Jioga asked. "No." Bai Songling shook his head and said, "The warriors sent by the Bai family haven't sent back any news for a long time. I'm afraid they have died on the road. It was a journey of thousands of miles and it was surrounded by mountains. Death was really a simple thing. Don't be too pessimistic. Maybe they were just delayed by something so they couldn't send back the news in time." Yi Jioga guided Bai Songling to talk about other topics. Seeing that he slowly relaxed, Yi Jioga secretly crushed a knockout drug. Bai Songling immediately frowned and looked around. Then he asked Yi Jioga doubtfully, "Do you smell anything strange?" "No." Yi Jioga blinked and shook his head innocently. "No, there is a strange smell." Bai Songling covered his mouth and nose, looked at Yi Jioga's finger with sharp eyes and shouted, "Did you poison it?" "I just crushed a knockout drug. How can you smell it?" Yi Jioga could not help but raise his eyebrows. She thought that Bai Songling would only notice it when the drug took effect. She did not expect it to be so fast. "Stinks." After saying this, Bai Songling immediately vomited. Yi Jioga immediately moved away from Bai Songling. Seeing him vomiting pitifully, Yi Jioga did not feel sympathetic at all. Instead, she felt very satisfied. This kind of colorless and odorless knockout drug was the most difficult to detect. However, Bai Songling could immediately react, which meant that the effect of the poisonous earth dragon was very good. So she was relieved. As for how to persuade Imperial Concubine Shi to take it, Yi Jioga also had her own ideas. "I think we don't need to tell the truth to Imperial Concubine Shi. We just need to put this poisonous earth dragon into an empty pill and let Imperial Concubine Shi take it. Sometimes white lies were also necessary." "Good idea." Bai Songling wiped his mouth and nodded in agreement. He secretly made up his mind that this white lie must be hidden from Imperial Concubine Shi for a lifetime. Chapter 119. Since we're going to use this poison earth dragon as a detoxification pill, then we need to cultivate a batch of good insect seedlings. Yi Jioga predicted that he would need a lot of poison earth dragons in the future. If he always went to the pharmacy to buy them, it was hard to guarantee that no one would leak it. Our Dongling Wangfu's pharmacy has a shed specifically for raising poison earth dragons. When the time comes, just have them keep a batch of good ones. It's not something valuable anyway. Bai Songling said. Ordinary poison earth dragons have a short lifespan. I want to choose a batch of good eggs to cultivate myself. Yi Jioga wanted to cultivate poison earth dragons with a longer lifespan and greater use. No problem, I'll take you to choose now. Yi Jioga wanting to improve the poison earth dragons was simply a good thing for Bai Songling. The Dongling Wangfu had a large herbal farm on the outskirts. In addition to cultivating poison earth dragons, they also grew many precious medicinal herbs. The head of the farm was surnamed Qin. Seeing that Bai Songling had brought the young miss of the Yi family over to choose some good poison earth dragons as medicinal herbs, he personally took them to the shed. The shed was filled with huge dustpans filled with white and fat poison earth dragons. 4 or 5 servants were constantly distributing poison wind leaves for them to eat. These poison wind leaves were the main food of the poison earth dragons. They had a gray surface and carried a bit of poison. After the poison earth dragons ate, they would spit out green saliva. This was the antidote for the poison wind leaves and also the medicinal herbs purchased by the pharmacy. Bai Songling looked at the densely packed white and fat insects and immediately felt his scalp go numb. He asked the head of the farm, "Is there anyone here who has studied poison earth dragons? Let them choose a batch first." Everyone had their own specialties. Letting them choose a batch first was better than Yi Jioga searching through so many insects himself. Yes. The head of the farm immediately nodded and shouted towards the shed, "Little Mute, come here." Hearing the head of the farm, a skinny boy wearing dark blue clothes walked out from the corner of the shed. He was about 11 years old and had a pair of large black eyes on his skinny face. He looked especially horrifying, like a puppet. Yi Jioga looked at this little boy and inexplicably felt that something was wrong. He asked, "Who is this?" "This is an adopted son adopted by a distant relative of mine. He doesn't have a name, so we all call him Little Mute. Although he can't speak, he's especially good at taking care of medicinal insects. It's also partly because of him that these poisonous earth dragons can be raised so well." Manager Qin was afraid that Bai Songling would accuse him of abusing his power to take care of his relative, so he quickly explained. "All right, let him pick some good worms for me," Bai Songling said indifferently. He was so young and mute. Even if he didn't have any skills, the village could still afford to raise him. After listening to Bai Songling's words, Little Mute took a dustpan and began to select the poisonous earth dragons. Soon he had picked more than 100 of them and filled the dustpan. "Enough," Yi Jioga said. She had already opened her spiritual eye to check. The poison earth dragons that Little Mute had picked up were filled with life force. They were indeed the best seedlings. Little Mute glanced at head Qin Zhuangtou. Seeing him nod, he stopped and quietly placed the dustpan in front of everyone. "This kid is interesting." Zishang's lazy voice rang in Yi Jioga's ears. "What's interesting?" Yi Jioga asked back. "You bring him back first, you'll know in the future." Zishang laughed and didn't say anything else. Yi Jioga was already used to Zishang's way of speaking. However, anything that could attract Zishang's attention was not ordinary, and this wooden Little Mute was no exception. Yi Jioga was determined to bring this wooden Little Mute away, so he smiled and said to him, "Little Mute, I'm lacking someone to help raise the poisonous earth dragons, are you willing to help?" The wooden Little Mute was expressionless. He didn't shake his head or nod his head, as though he didn't understand what Yi Jioga was saying. Manager Qin knew that this kid was wooden, and was afraid that he would offend his master, so he hurriedly said, "This kid is a servant of our village. If young miss wants him, then just bring him away, there's no need to ask for his opinion." "I'm asking him, not you." Yi Jioga was dissatisfied with the way the manager treated people like objects. "I was too talkative, please forgive me, young miss." Manager Qin was so scared that sweat broke out all over his body, and he didn't dare say anything else. Yi Jioga looked at the wooden Little Mute and continued, "If you work at my place, food and accommodation will be provided and you'll be paid 10 taels of silver per month, 2 days off per month, red envelopes and festive gifts during the holidays, and if you raise him well, you'll receive a monthly bonus, starting at 10 taels of silver." These conditions were 100 times better than being a servant at the village, and even Manager Qin wanted to apply for the job. He hurriedly gave the wooden Little Mute a look and opened his mouth to say soundlessly, "Hurry up and agree." The blockhead Little Mute slowly nodded his head. "Then go back and pack your things, you'll leave with these poisonous earth dragons in a bit." Yi Jioga immediately decided. After successfully abducting the wooden Little Mute, Yi Jioga arranged for him to live in a small courtyard behind Wan Ziang and Bai Songling's house. This small courtyard was originally a property under the name of the Prince of Dongling residence, and now it had been transferred to Yi Jioge. Little Mute, you'll live here from now on, and someone will come over to take care of your 3 meals a day. You just need to focus on raising these poisonous earth dragons for me, Yi Jioge said to the wooden little mute. The wooden little mute still looked like a wooden person and didn't respond at all. Yi Jioge didn't mind and continued, I specially called you over to raise poisonous earth dragons that have a longer lifespan and a stronger detoxification effect, so the method of raising them will be a bit different from before. First, these poisonous earth dragons have to be divided into 3 portions, and each portion will be fed with a different ingredient. You have to observe how they compare after they eat it. The ingredients Yi Jioge prepared were leprosy grass, red butterfly slices and oleander. They were all poisonous herbs and their grades were all higher than the poison wind grass. Why go through so much trouble? Zishang spoke again. Don't worry about me, I just like trouble. Although Yi Jioge knew that Zishang definitely had a better method, he didn't have any benefits to give him, so he could only slowly explore it himself. In any case, there was no rush. This sovereign is in a good mood today, so I'll tell you a method for free. Zishang transmitted his voice. After Yi Jioge heard this, he immediately asked suspiciously, will this really work? Whether it works or not, you'll know once you try. Alright, it doesn't cost me to try anyway. Yi Jioge lowered his head to look at the wooden little mute, and said according to the method Zishang taught him, if you can help me raise better poisonous earth dragons, I'm willing to exchange a spirit beast pill for it. When the wooden little mute heard Yi Jioge's words, he immediately raised his head to look at her. An indescribable light flashed in his large black eyes, making his eyes shine like obsidian, and there was an indescribable beauty to it. However, that ray of light quickly disappeared and it returned to its dark appearance. Chapter 120. This brat doesn't believe you. Zishang's tone had a sense of gloating. How is that possible? My sister looks like a white lotus. Everyone should believe her. Yi Jioge put on a serious face as if treating a patient with a hidden disease, and said to the little mute seriously, I only want the advanced version of the poisonous earth dragon, I'm not interested in other things. The blockhead little mute still had a blank look, not knowing if he understood. However, Yi Jioge didn't have time to talk to him anymore. After telling Bai Songling to take care of the little mute's daily life, she returned to Purple Forest Park. 3 days later, Imperial consort, she would enter the palace. She planned to first use the ordinary poisonous earth dragon to refine some poison testing pills, and wait for the little mute to refine the advanced version of the poisonous earth dragon before replacing it. The simplified version of the poison testing pill was very easy to refine. First, refine the pill, then stuff the living poisonous earth dragon into it and seal it. However, the dissolution time of this pill was very particular, it couldn't be too late or too early, it had to be dissolved the moment it entered the stomach, so that the poisonous earth dragon could smoothly settle down. Yi Jioge tried several materials and finally chose erdong, gastrodia alata, philodendron, baiji, wolfberry, schisandra, etc. The pill made in this way was not only easy to dissolve, but also had the effect of nourishing the spleen and kidneys. After Yi Jioge ground these medicinal materials into a fine powder, she mixed it with the walnut oil, then kneaded it into a small honey pill, and finally stuffed the poisonous earth dragon into it and sealed it. Yi Jioge stopped after making 10 honey pills, it was useless to make more anyway. Zishang saw that Yi Jioge wanted to sleep, so he appeared and circled her and teased, Did you forget something? What did I forget? Why didn't she know? If you don't refine spirit beast pills, what will you use to exchange for the poisonous earth dragon with that little mute? Zishang pulled Yi Jioge's earlobe with both hands and made a fierce look, or do you want to eat and dash? Are you sure he can really make the advanced version of the poisonous earth dragon? Yi Jioge let Zishang pull her ear, and continued to put the freshly made honey pill into the bottle. Of course. Zishang pinched Yi Jioge's soft earlobe and played with it happily. Yi Jioge put down the jade bottle and asked politely, Then I will start refining now. Can you let go of my ears? She had already discovered that compared to violent confrontation, it was better to be more docile to solve problems quickly. Alright. Zishang didn't know what to do with the obedient Yi Jioge. Although Zishang let go of Yi Jioge's earlobe, he still hugged her tightly. He was really a boneless snake. Yi Jioge was already numb from being hugged by Zishang. Dragging him along, he began to refine pills with much difficulty. Fortunately, the spirit beast pill was not difficult to refine. All he had to do was prepare the ingredients and throw them into the small bronze cauldron. Although this small bronze cauldron looked shabby, and it took a long time to refine pills, the success rate was very high. In addition, the fat black rat's saliva was 100% success rate, which saved her a lot of trouble. Why does that little mute want the spirit beast Dan? Could it be that he raised some kind of spirit beast? Yijioga asked. The reason why she didn't kick Zishang, who was wrapped around her body, away was partly because she wanted to get some information out of him. Look at how poor he is. Does he look like he can raise a spirit beast? Zishang rested his chin on Yijioga's head. This position was the most comfortable. Then why does he want the spirit beast Dan? Yijioga couldn't understand. This expensive spirit beast Dan was like imported cat food. Other than cat slaves who would pay tribute to their cat masters, most people wouldn't buy it. Of course it's to eat. Zishang rubbed Yijioga's head. He was so comfortable that his eyes narrowed. He doesn't have a spirit beast. It's impossible for him to eat it himself. Yijioga said in disbelief. Could it be that the little mute has pica and loves to eat this spirit beast Dan? Guess. Zishang was still hanging, waiting for Yijioga to state her conditions. If you don't want to say it, then forget it. Yijioga wasn't going to fall for it. Other than things related to her own life, she wasn't interested in anything else. Little Jioga is really not cute. It's getting harder and harder to deceive. Zishang's chin rested on top of Yijioga's hair bun. Suddenly he smelled a strange smell. How long has it been since you last washed your hair? Zishang asked. Not that long. At most a month. Yijioga pretended to be stupid. Ever since she found out that Zishang especially liked to use her head as a pillow, she purposely didn't wash her hair, wanting to suffocate Zishang to death. Wash. Zishang couldn't bear the fact that his royal pillow was so dirty. This is my hair. This lady likes the sour smell. What's wrong with that? Very quickly Yijioga knew that going against a tyrant wouldn't end well. What do you mean by taking a bath without saying a word? Yijioga, who was pulled into the bathtub by Zishang and drenched in cold water, deeply regretted it. At this moment her entire body was drenched. Her thin clothes stuck to her body, revealing her slightly rising and falling graceful figure. Did you forget that you still owe me 2 kisses? Zishang sized up Yijioga's figure with satisfaction. It wasn't in vain for him to personally help Yijioga clear the meridians in her chest. I will return it to you after I change my clothes. Yijioga wanted to escape. However, Zishang grabbed onto Yijioga's hands and hugged onto her tightly, causing the two's bodies to become even closer. Let go of me. Yijioga raised her leg and wanted to kick Zishang, but Zishang's snake tail tightly wrapped around her leg. Be good. Zishang lowered his head and kissed onto Yijioga's cherry lips, then pushed Yijioga onto the ground. Zishang's fierce and passionate kiss seemed as if even Yijioga's soul was about to be sucked away. Yijioga felt the suffocating pain. Taking the opportunity when Zishang loosened his grip, Yijioga punched onto Zishang's abdomen. Zishang's muscles were definitely made of stone, they were extraordinarily hard. Naughty. Zishang's palm slid down and heavily rubbed onto Yijioga's body. Yijioga felt that her small chest that had just developed was about to be squashed flat by Zishang. She struggled to resist, but Zishang forcefully suppressed her. The two rolled around in the small bathtub, and even the clothes rack that was placed at the side was knocked down. Mother Qing just happened to pass by the bathtub. Hearing the sound coming from inside, she couldn't help but ask, "Who's inside?" Hearing Mother Qing's voice, Yijioga immediately trembled. Both her hands grabbed Zishang's shoulders and pushed him away. Zishang followed her advice and moved his lips to Yijioga's ear. He bit on her meaty little earlobe as if he was eating something delicious. That was a very sensitive place for Yijioga. A strange numbness spread from her abdomen to her limbs. Her whole body was trembling, and her voice had also become soft. "It's me. Miss, why are you inside?" Mother Qing was even more surprised. Wasn't Miss in the alchemy room? When did she come out? Moreover, she even went straight to the bathtub. I suddenly felt an unbearable itch on my head, so I wanted to wash my hair. Quickly help me prepare some hot water. As Yijioga spoke, she stopped Zishang's hand from igniting the fire on her body. Chapter 121. This old servant will go prepare the hot water. Mother Qing immediately turned around and left. She felt that she was so incompetent that she didn't realize that eldest Mrs. Head was so itchy. You really can't take it anymore? Zishang whispered into Yijioga's ear as he moved his evil hand. Zishang, can't you tell me in advance when you're in heat? If Yi Jioga knew that Zishang would touch her like this if she didn't wash her hair, she would have shaved her hair. It won't be long before my estrus period. You have to quickly get used to it. Zishang said very seriously. This little girl's growth was really too slow. Who knew when he would be able to eat her? It was so hard to wait. You're really in heat. Yi Jioga's scalp went numb. Would her small body be able to withstand being ravaged by Zishang once? You'll know when the time comes. Zishang reluctantly rubbed Yi Jioga's head and returned to her mark. At this time, Mother Qing and Jinju came over with hot water and knocked on the door. Miss, the hot water is ready. Come in. Yi Jioga had already been ravaged to the point that he didn't want to move. Mother Qing came in and saw Yi Jioga's messy hair and clothes, but she didn't think much about it. You can't go into the bathroom fully dressed. After Yi Jioga took a bath with the help of Mother Qing and Jinju, he fell on the bed and didn't move. When he woke up, it was already dawn. Yi Jioga stretched his body on the bed. Suddenly, he remembered that he was halfway through refining the spirit beast pill last night. He immediately jumped out of bed. It's over, it's over. After refining for so long, it's definitely ruined. Yi Jioga hurriedly rushed into the alchemy room and opened the small bronze cauldron to take a look. He found 9 plump spirit beast pills inside, emitting a faint luster. They were actually grade 2 high-grade spirit beast pills. Pippi. The fat black rat jumped onto the small bronze cauldron, puffing out its fat chest to show that this was all thanks to it. Good job, big sister will give you a raise. Yi Jioga gave the fat black rat a thumbs up. Pai-Pai-chan. Fat black rat did not care about wages as long as Great King Purple Deceased was satisfied, it was fine. No problem. I'll definitely put in a good word for you in front of Great King Zishang. Yi Jioga happily packed the spirit beast pill and put it into the bag along with the poison testing pill he refined last night. After eating breakfast, she went to find Bai Songling with the bag. You came at the right time. Bai Songling was relieved to see Yi Jioga. What? Yi Jioga asked curiously. That little mute locked himself in his room last night and hasn't come out yet. He didn't eat his dinner or breakfast. I wonder what's going on? Bai Songling was worried that little mute was carrying out the secret method that Yi Jioga was teaching him, so she didn't dare to act rashly. Yi Jioga couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Could that little mute really be cultivating an advanced version of the earth poison dragon? Go and have a look when you have time. I have to go to the prince's mansion now, so I won't be able to accompany you. Bai Songling's own matters were quite urgent. Bai said. Bai Ling Bai Tian. Go. Bai Zit. Yil Bai XT go. Bai Chen. Shao deep inside. CCCC, quiet inside. Yi Jioga opened it. She found a lot of food. The staple food for breakfast was porridge, steamed buns, side dishes, corn, sweet potatoes and other coarse grains. There were also 2 fragrant meat pies which smelled very good. It could be seen that Bai Songling cared a lot about this little mute. Yi Jioga put the lid on the food. She coughed. What are you doing in there, little mute? The wooden door creaked open. Little mute's snow-white face peeked out from behind the door. His lips were red and his 2 large black eyes looked even more horrifying. Yi Jioga didn't know why. Every time she saw little mute she got goosebumps. She pointed uncomfortably at the food on the table and said, You must be hungry. Let's eat something first. Little mute didn't look at the food. Instead, he waved at Yi Jioga and asked her to follow him inside. Yi Jioga had no choice but to follow little mute into the dark room. The deeper she went, the more she felt something was wrong. The tip of his nose kept smelling a strange odor. It smelled a little like blood but not quite. She took a closer look. She found a jar in the corner of the dark room. That strange smell was coming from it. Little mute stood next to the jar. He pointed at it, indicating Yi Jioga to see. Yi Jioga was also curious, so he lowered his head to look at the jar. Suddenly, a small black shadow shot out from the jar. It was heading straight for her. Just as she was about to make a move, little mute was faster than her. He reached out and pinched the black shadow. That black shadow immediately softened like a noodle. Only then did Yi Jioga realize that it was actually a black poisonous earth dragon. It was bigger than a normal earth poison dragon. It was black and exuded a strong life force. It was not an ordinary creature. But it was different from a normal earth poison dragon. Little mute handed the black earth poison dragon to Yi Jioga. He opened his left hand. It was clear he wanted to trade with her. How did you raise this earth poison dragon? Yi Jioga took out the spiritual beast pill and handed it to him. Little mute took the spiritual beast pill and smelled it. His eyes immediately flashed with surprise. It seemed he was very satisfied with the spiritual beast pill Yi Jioga gave him. He carefully put the pill away. He drew a circle in front of his chest to show that it was a dustpan. He then made an action of pouring the dustpan into the jar. Yijioga understood. You poured the dustpan's earth poison dragons into the jar and let them kill each other. In the end, there was only this one left, right? No wonder this earth poison dragon looked so strange. It turned out it was refined using this kind of cruel method. Little Mute nodded. He then turned around and left the room. He opened the mahogany food box and began to eat. Yijioga looked at him wolfing down the food. She couldn't help but have a question in her heart. Where did this Little Mute come from? The method he said was the same as raising Gu and Miaojiang. Only a special secret technique could do it. Moreover, looking at the way he grabbed the earth poison dragon with his bare hands, this child was definitely not as simple as an orphan. Little Mute didn't care about Yijioga's probing gaze. After he finished eating, he wiped his mouth with his sleeve and went back to the small dark room to rest. Wait. Yijioga called out to him. She asked, can you continue to raise this kind of earth poison dragon? Little Mute stretched out his thin fingers. He made a meatball. He meant that as long as you have the spiritual beast pill, you can come and exchange it at any time. Chapter 122. I don't want this kind of poisonous earthworm, I want the normal kind. Although the poisonous earthworm produced by this method was powerful, the side effects were too great, and it was also harmful to nature, so it was not a long-term solution. Little Mute hesitated for a moment, and made a strange gesture with his hand. Yijioga instantly understood. You mean that method is very slow? Little Mute nodded again. It's okay, it doesn't matter if it's slow, as long as you can cultivate a poisonous earthworm that can evolve normally, I can exchange it for 5 spirit beast pills, Yijioga said generously. Little Mute's eyes lit up and he nodded vigorously. If you need anything, just let me know, I will try my best to satisfy you. Yijioga was going to put in a lot of effort this time. Little Mute did not stand on ceremony, and after gesturing with his hands he felt that it was not enough, and used his finger to write the words second stage black housefly on the brown table with tea. You want to use the second stage black housefly as supplementary feed for the poisonous earthworm? Yijioga asked curiously. Black housefly was a kind of spirit herb that looked like a fly, and was usually used to treat festering wounds. Although it was a spirit herb, it grew easily and it was not expensive, so she could afford it. Little Mute nodded again. Your handwriting is not bad, who taught you? Yijioga pretended to ask casually. These days, very few commoners were literate, even Xinzhuangtou could not read, let alone Little Mute, who was an orphan who was adopted. Little Mute's face flashed with vigilance, and he frowned and wrote another line of words. Didn't you say that you were not interested in anything other than the poisonous earthworm? A small line of words, with a questioning tone as if he had been deceived. Don't worry, I was just asking casually. Alright, go to sleep first, I will have someone send the black housefly over later. Yijioga immediately gave up on investigating Little Mute. Who cares where he came from as long as he could work? Little Mute carefully looked at Yijioga, and after confirming that she did not have any ill intentions, his little eyebrows relaxed, and he turned around and floated into the house. Yijioga wiped off the writing on the table, picked up the food box that Little Mute had eaten, and prepared to find Bai Songling to help him get the black fly grass. Unexpectedly, as soon as she walked to the door, Bai Songling rushed in like a whirlwind and pulled her out. Oh no, the demon poison in His Highness's body is acting up. Come with me to have a look. Let's go. Yijioga threw the lunchbox aside and immediately rushed to Prince Dongling's mansion with Bai Songling. Dongfang Ke was lying on the luxurious bed with his eyes tightly shut. His handsome face was deathly pale and his lips were icy purple. His entire body was as hard as ice. Yijioga placed his finger on Dongfang Ke's wrist and felt as though he was touching a block of ice. He was completely unable to feel the pulse. She opened her spiritual eye to take a closer look and discovered that the spiritual energy in his dantian was in a mess. She could faintly see a blurry white spider. Without a doubt, the Snow Spider King's poison in his body had taken effect. Yijioga raised his head and asked Bai Songling, why did Her Highness suddenly act up? Today, His Majesty summoned His Highness into the palace to ask about noble consort Shi. Yijioga suddenly acted up after returning. Bai Songling gritted her teeth and said, that evil woman the Empress must have done something. Her poison is unpredictable and His Highness was unable to guard against it. Then why didn't you let His Highness take the poison testing pill before entering the palace? Yijioga asked curiously. If Dongfang Ke had swallowed the poison earth dragon before entering the palace, it would have served as a warning. I forgot. Bai Songling wanted to keep it a secret, so she didn't mention it to Dongfang Quebec. Why didn't you forget about yourself? Yi Jiuge glanced at Bai Songling. I don't talk about me. I'm already regretting it to the point that my intestines are turning green. Bai Songling had a look of regret and she almost knelt down to beg brother Yi Jiu. Help me take off His Highness's shirt first. Yi Jiuge prepared to use acupuncture to save him. Bai Songling directly took off Dongfang K's shirt. Dongfang K's skin was smooth and firm, and the shape of his muscles was very beautiful. It was obvious that he had trained and was very pleasing to the eye. Yi Jiuge silently glanced at him, then took out the thunderfire needle and pierced it into Dongfang K's acupuncture points. However, it was repelled by a strange cold energy. Yi Jiuge didn't believe it and secretly increased the input of spirit energy. The thunderfire needle glowed with a faint purple light as it pierced Dongfang K's body. Although the needle was successfully pierced in, if she had to use spirit energy for every needle, she probably wouldn't be able to last until the end. Bai Songling saw Yi Jiuge's strange expression and hurriedly asked, "Eldest miss, what's wrong?" His Highness's cold poison is too powerful. I can't completely remove it. Yi Jiuge shook his head. With her current spirit energy, she couldn't completely remove the cold poison from Dongfang K's body. Then what should we do? Even the commonly used medicine can't suppress the cold poison in His Highness's body. Bai Songling looked at Dongfang K anxiously. She had a feeling that he would die in the next moment. Yi Jiuge suddenly thought of the poisonous earth dragon goo that little mute had just cultivated. This thing had a strong ability to expel poison, so it might be able to cure Dongfang K's poison. There was no other way, so he could only give it a try. Yi Jiuge took out the jade bottle that contained the poisonous earth dragon goo and passed it to Bai Songling. Feed this to His Highness. Bai Songling opened the bottle and saw the pitch-black poisonous earth dragon goo. His handsome face immediately frowned as though he had eaten a gold thread. If he really fed it to Dongfang K, he would definitely be killed by Dongfang Quebec. Forget it, he had no other choice but to save his life. Bai Songling pinched open Dongfang K's mouth and did not hesitate to feed the poisonous earth dragon goo. The poisonous earth dragon goo slid down Dongfang K's throat and into his stomach. Yi Jiuge opened his spiritual eye and could clearly see that the poisonous earth dragon goo had entered Dongfang K's dantian and started to fight with the spider shadow. The two wild beasts were evenly matched and did not give way to each other, causing the spiritual energy in Dongfang K's dantian to be in a mess. Dongfang K painfully frowned while he was unconscious. Faint blue sweat seeped out of the pores on his body. Following which, he suddenly opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of ice blue blood. The blood froze the moment it landed on the ground. It was extremely strange. Yi Jiuge took the opportunity to insert his needles. Rays of purple light landed on Dongfang K's body. Especially on the two sides of his spine, Yi Jiuge inserted a total of 49 needles, suppressing the spider shadow's poison. The poisonous earth dragon goo took the opportunity to counterattack and frantically devoured the spider shadow. Every time it devoured, Dongfang K would spit out a mouthful of blue blood. Slowly the blood turned from ice blue to faint red. Finally it was a bright red color. At this moment the spider shadow was about to be destroyed. Yi Jiuge heaved a sigh of relief and his needles were slightly slower. The spider shadow suddenly expanded and actually wanted to devour the poisonous earth dragon goo. Chapter 123. Yi Jiuge's heart tightened. The lightning fire needle spat out the last bit of spiritual energy to firmly suppress the spider image. The poison earth dragon parasite took the opportunity to completely devour the spider image, and then it stopped moving. The snow spider king's poison wasn't ordinary. Even if the poison earth dragon parasite killed it, it would just perish together. At this time, Dongfang K also spat out the last mouthful of poisonous blood. There was still a dried-up poison earth dragon parasite in the bright red blood. Done. Yi Jiuge immediately put away the needle. She weakly leaned against the bed frame, then took out the spirit recovery pill from her bag with trembling hands. Bai Songling very perceptively helped her take out the spirit recovery pill and poured a cup of hot water for her to consume. After Yi Jiuge ate the spirit recovery pill, he finally felt some strength in his body. However, his right hand was so sore that he couldn't lift it. "Are you all right?" Bai Songling asked with concern. If anything happened to Yi Jiuge, he wouldn't be able to absolve himself. "I'm fine, just tired." Yi Jiuge swung his sore right hand. This acupuncture was even more tiring than the time with noble consort Shi. It was a huge loss. Bai Songling let out a sigh of relief, then looked down at the poison earth dragon parasite's corpse and asked, "Eldest Miss, has His Highness's poison been cured?" "For now, the remaining poison has been forced out, but to completely cure it, we still need to find fire dragon grass. Otherwise, the remaining poison will slowly corrode his spine like before, making it impossible for him to walk." The poison earth dragon parasite only cleansed Dongfang K's meridians, but it couldn't remove the root cause. Bai Songling heard Yi Jioga's words and found a very important point. "You said the remaining poison will slowly corrode his spine like before, making it impossible for him to walk. Does that mean he can stand up and walk now?" Of course. There was no poison in Dongfang K's body now. Not to mention standing up and walking, he could even run a lap around the city. Great, this is great. Bai Songling was so excited that his face turned red. He wanted to rush up and wake Dongfang K up to tell him this good news. His Highness will wake up in the time it takes to drink a cup of tea. Find someone to help him tidy up. Yi Jioga glanced at the naked Dongfang K, who was covered in blue blood. He looked like he had been ravaged. Bai Songling only cared about taking off her clothes. She simply called the butler, "Uncle He, over." Uncle He had been waiting outside the entire time. When he heard that the poison in His Highness' body had been completely removed and that he could now stand up and walk again, he almost knelt down to thank Yi Jioga. "Then let's wait outside. Big brother Bai, come with me," Yi Jioga said to Bai Songling. "Okay." Bai Songling also wanted to ask Yi Jioga about the black poisonous earth dragon, so she brought her to the hall. Yi Jioga didn't hide it from him and told him that the poison earth dragon was cultivated by Little Mute. However, the method of cultivation was kept secret. "I didn't expect this Little Mute to be so talented." Bai Songling's eyes lit up, and he immediately made up his mind to go back and investigate where this talent came from. Yi Jioga indicated that it was not her who asked Bai Songling to investigate. However, speaking of investigation, Yi Jioga also thought of something. "How's the investigation of 7th concubine going?" "I've checked. The 7th concubine in your mansion has a normal background. There's nothing wrong with her." "Are you sure she's really a spy sent by the Empress?" Bai Songling asked. "I'm not sure." Yi Jioga was just suspicious. Recently, 7th concubine's side was very quiet. She didn't send anyone to the watering room anymore. She had secretly investigated Yuan Yang, the maid who rummaged through the garbage, and found that she just wanted to take some things from the mansion to help her sick mother. She knew nothing about 7th concubine. "By the way, are Su Yufeng and her daughter still making trouble?" Bai Songling rarely gossiped. "After old Master Su fell, the two of them became well-behaved. They are around my father every day and have no time to trouble me," Yi Jioga said faintly. The Su family blamed Su Yufeng for bringing old Master Su, who had just come out of seclusion, to the Yi family to make trouble, causing trouble for them. Su Yufeng didn't have the backing of her maiden family. She could only put all her attention on the child in her belly, and Yi Yushuan. Yi Shanshan was now smart. Besides practicing alchemy every day, she went to communicate with the crown prince. Yi Mansion was unprecedentedly peaceful. Su Junqing is also very well behaved, Bai Songling said with some pity. "He needs human blood to practice the bewitching skill. He won't be well behaved for long." Yi Jioga said and thought of something. "Brother Wan and Yi Yu went to Hepu County for a long time. Did they find the evil practitioner?" She had been busy with Imperial concubine Shi's affairs during this time and didn't have time to ask this. "They have found a lot of important clues in Hepu County. It has been preliminarily confirmed that the evil practitioner is a middle-aged man. It is said that he is dressed like a scholar and looks very gentle and polite." "Is there a portrait?" Yi Jioga asked. "Wan Ziang and others are looking for a painter to copy, but the paintings are not very similar." Bai Songling shook her head. This kind of person without specific facial features and only temperament was the most difficult to copy. "It's a pity. It would be good if the portrait could be posted on the Imperial Notice." These days, people still had to rely on the Imperial Notice if they wanted to know anything. Ziang has informed all the county governments to post the Imperial Notice. Let the people be careful of this evil practitioner and watch their daughters well. They can't let them talk to strange men. It was said that after the Imperial Notice was posted, people were in a panic. Those who had daughters at home kept a close eye on them and didn't dare to let young girls go out alone. "Very good. I believe it won't be long before Brother Wan and others find the whereabouts of the evil practitioner." Yi Jioga was very satisfied. "Yes, but the most important thing now is the matter of Her Highness returning to the palace. The black poisonous earth dragon has been detoxified for Her Highness. Can you let little Mute cultivate another one? Bai Songling had just seen the power of the black poisonous earth dragon. If imperial concubine she could take this and return to the palace, she would definitely be able to sweep away all the various poisons of the empress. I'll ask him later. Yi Jioge also felt that it would be better for imperial concubine she to eat this. Can you let him make a few more? Bai Songling wanted to keep one for herself. This kind of thing is not easy to get. Although little Mute looked very relaxed, Yi Jioge still felt that it was not so easy to raise such a thing. Just let him try. Bai Songling said unwillingly. What's there to try? You don't have to enter the palace. The empress can't poison you. At worst, you can just wait until you enter the palace and take an ordinary poison testing pill in advance. Yi Jioge put the poison testing pill he refined last night into Bai Songling's hand and told him that little Mute wanted to use the black fly grass to cultivate the poisonous earth dragon. No problem, leave this matter to me. Bai Songling immediately agreed. It was just some black fly grass. There were plenty of it in the pharmacy under the Wangfu. Chapter 124. His Highness should be waking up soon, let's go back. Yi Jioge estimated that 10 minutes had passed. Let's go. Just as Bai Songling led Yi Jioge out of the hall, they saw Dongfang Ke and Uncle He walking towards them. You can really walk. Bai Songling exclaimed in surprise. Although she had heard Yi Jioge speak of it, she was still very shocked when she saw it for herself. And? Dongfang Ke nodded slightly towards Bai Songling, but his eyes were fixed on Yi Jioge. His deep eyes carried undisguised gratitude. If the Empress knew that Your Highness had benefited from a disaster and recovered, she would definitely go crazy with anger. Yi Jioge laughed. That's right, noble consort, she has also recovered. This is truly a double blessing. Bai Songling nodded repeatedly. Dongfang Ke had originally wanted to bide his time and hide his injuries, but after hearing Yi Jioge's words, he immediately nodded. I will tell Imperial Father this good news. He had endured for so long, it was time to retaliate. Then I must quickly refine 2 more poison testing pills for you and noble consort Shi. Although the poison in Dongfang Ke's body had been cleared, eating another one could still suppress the spread of the Ice Spider King's poison. Right, hurry up. This matter cannot be delayed. Bai Songling nodded repeatedly. What poison testing pill? Dongfang Ke asked suspiciously. Yi Jioge and Bai Songling glanced at each other, both deciding to keep this matter a secret. As a result, Yi Jioge said, it's the kind of spiritual pill that I told noble consort Shi about last time that can help her detect poison. Alright, I still have things to do and will be leaving first. If you have anything else, come find me. Yi Jioge was afraid that Dongfang Ke would pursue the matter further and quickly ran back to the courtyard to order 2 poisonous earth dragon parasites from Little Mute. Little Mute was extremely enthusiastic about this order and immediately had Yi Jioge bring him back to the previous manor to choose another batch of ordinary poisonous earth dragon parasites. The next morning he gave the 2 poisonous earth dragon parasites to Yi Jioge and obtained 2 spiritual beast pills. Yi Jioge stuffed the poisonous earth dragon parasites into the pills and had Bai Songling give them to Dongfang Ke and noble consort Shi. In a single night, the news of Dongfang Ke's recovery spread throughout Shangjing, and the imperial harem was no exception. Within the Fengyi Palace, the main hall was brightly lit. However, the eunuchs and palace maids were not present. Only a black-clothed and masked man was kneeling in the center of the main hall. The empress sat on the phoenix throne with a frosty expression on her face. She stared coldly at her secret guard and asked, how did that bastard Dongfang Ke suddenly walk? I'm still investigating, but I haven't found out who cured him yet, the dark guard quickly replied. Then continue to investigate, the queen said calmly. Actually, she was not very concerned about Dongfang Ke's situation. So what if he could walk? The Snow Spider King's poison was not that easy to cure. She was more concerned about another question. You said that the bitch imperial consort She has recovered her appearance, and the emperor is going to the imperial temple to take her back to the palace? Yes, the emperor has scheduled to go to the imperial temple to offer incense in person tomorrow and bring imperial consort She back. The secret guard nodded. That bitch can actually recover her appearance. A ferocious expression flashed across the empress' usually dignified face. Even the fine lines at the corner of her eyes appeared. She didn't kill imperial consort She back then because she wanted to see how long the emperor could pamper imperial consort She's disgusting rotten face. She didn't expect Imperial Consort Shi to be so decisive and leave the palace before her face rotted. From then on she avoided Xianwu Emperor. It had been 16 years. She thought that Imperial Consort Shi was hiding in the Imperial Temple to wait for death. She didn't expect that she would come back one day. "Your Highness, what should we do now?" the secret guard asked carefully. The Emperor's matter was very well hidden. They didn't get the news in advance. It was too late to ruin it now. If she wants to return to the palace, then let her. I want to see how long she can be so arrogant." The Empress clenched her fists, her red nails digging deep into her flesh. She could defeat Imperial Consort Shi once, so she could defeat her a second time. Since that bitch wanted to come back to die, then she would fulfill her wish. But this time she definitely wouldn't let that bitch live. The secret guard didn't dare to reply and continued to quietly kneel in place, waiting for the Empress's next order. The Empress quickly regained her normal expression and asked the secret guard, "Is there still no news of Nurse Su?" "No." The secret guard shook his head. The Empress frowned. Ever since Nurse Su went out of the palace to kill Yi Jioga, there was no news of her. On the contrary, Yi Jioga recovered his appearance in the Demon Beast Forest, returned home in style, and even hooked up with the Gong family. The Empress suspected that the Gong family had secretly helped Yi Jioga get rid of Nurse Su, so she didn't dare to act rashly. "When did Su Hansen say he will enter the capital?" the Empress asked again. Su Hansen was Nurse Su's Shixiang. This revenge could only be taken by him to the Gong family. Anyway, she didn't want to intervene. Su Darren said he hasn't played enough yet. He still wants to wait a few more days. The secret guard hesitated for a moment before continuing. This subordinate saw Su Darren in Hepu County. He killed several more women. This subordinate burned the station to stop the letter sent to the Ministry of Justice. These brainless lunatics. The Empress hated those evil cultivators the most. They didn't know how to wipe their mouth after eating. Although the people they killed were all lowly people like ants, it would still be difficult to clean up the mess if the news spread. Nevertheless, no matter how angry she was, she still had to clean up the mess. "Bring 2 more people to Hepu County and tell him about Nurse Su's death. Tell him to go to the capital immediately," the Empress ordered coldly. "Yes." The secret guard nodded and immediately rushed to Hepu County after leaving the palace. It was late at night in Hepu County. In an uninhabited remote house, the trees in the yard were withered and emitting a moldy smell. Yiyu stood in the shadow against the wall. He tried his best to relax his body and let his spiritual power flow smoothly. During this period, he and Wan Ziang had been tracking down the evil cultivator and finally found where he stayed. Today they were going to set a trap to catch him. Because the evil cultivator was very sensitive to spiritual power, Wan Ziang was hiding 2 streets away. The strategy that he discussed with Wan Ziang was to try their best to keep the evil cultivator occupied and wait for him to come to support. Although the evil cultivator was slightly stronger than Nurse Su, ever since Yiyu cultivated the technique given by Yi Jioga, his hiding ability had greatly improved. Especially after refining the yin qi that was unique to evil cultivators, he could even become one with the shadows. He was confident that he would not be discovered in advance by the evil cultivator, who was an advanced spiritualist. Just as Yiyu was constantly adjusting his state, a green figure flipped over the wall of the house and quietly landed in the courtyard. Chapter 125. Yiyu squinted his eyes and saw a man in a cyan robe. He had a pale face and no beard. He looked like a scholar and he walked into the room with a black cloth bag. Without lighting up the lamp, the man poured the contents of the bag onto the bed. It was a 12-year-old girl. The little girl was chubby and her skin was fair and tender. She was wearing a pink jacket with a small golden lock on it. It was obvious that she was from a rich family. "Humph, you stupid mortals. Do you think you can stop me from cultivating by posting the imperial list? That's ridiculous." The man sneered. His fair and gentle face became very distorted in the moonlight, and his eyes were glowing with a faint red light. He roughly tore the little girl's clothes apart and lowered his head to bite her neck. At this time, a cold light full of killing intent suddenly attacked him from behind. The man was shocked and instinctively mobilized his spiritual power to protect himself. Unfortunately, it was too late. The fierce attack pierced through his back before his protective spiritual light appeared, and blood splashed out. The man suddenly turned around and waved his palm at the attacker, but he found that there was nothing behind him. A shadow assassin. The man's face darkened, and his eyes were covered with a layer of red light. He searched the room carefully but found nothing. It was impossible. His ghost eyes were very sensitive to spiritual power. How could he not find this shadow assassin? He immediately turned around and grabbed the little girl. He sneered and said, "Get out of here or I'll kill this little girl." There was still no movement in the empty room. The man reached out his hand and grabbed the little girl's slender neck. His eyes were fixed on the corner of the room, so he didn't notice that the shadow of the little girl was changing. Yi Yu hid in the shadow of the little girl and secretly controlled the little girl's body. When the man was not paying attention, he once again used the skill he had learned after advancing to the next level to attack the man's chest. Puppet kill. The man focused all his attention on the outside, and he didn't expect that the hostage could attack him. When his chest was pierced by the strange shadow again, the man was shocked. He was seriously injured twice in a row and he was scared out of his wits. The scariest thing was that he still hadn't discovered where the enemy was. In his panic, he did not dare to stay any longer. He threw the little girl aside and ran away. Yi Yu staggered out of the shadows. His face was as white as a ghost. The two attacks just now had exhausted all of his spiritual power. He stretched out his hand to catch the little girl, who collapsed to the ground. Fortunately, the little girl did not suffer any serious injuries. Yi Yu placed her in a corner and took out one of the spirit recovery pills that Yi Jioga had given him. Dense spirit energy filled his dantian. Yi Yu's eyes lit up. He immediately got up and followed the aura left behind by the green-robed evil cultivator. Although Wan Ziang had told him not to act on his own, it would be difficult to find the green-robed evil cultivator in the future if he didn't chase after him now. By the time Wan Ziang arrived at the house, there was only the unconscious little girl in the house. That damned Yi Yu, how dare he act on his own? Wan Ziang's face darkened with anger. Previously, he had already made an agreement with Yi Yu that if they could not make the evil cultivator stay, they would wait for him to come over and think of a solution together. In the end, he actually chased after the evil cultivator himself. Yi Yu's real level was only that of an intermediate spiritualist. Even with the spirit recovery pills that Yi Jioga had given him, it was impossible for him to kill the evil cultivator. Wan Ziang looked around carefully, but he could not tell which direction Yi Yu had gone. He could only send the little girl back to the yamen first. At this moment, two strange auras suddenly came from outside the house. Wan Ziang jumped onto the beam with the little girl and hid himself. He saw two men in black climbing over the wall of the courtyard and respectfully reporting to the house. "Sir Su, wet nurse Su is missing. The Empress invites you to the capital as soon as possible to discuss an important matter." "Sir Su? So the evil cultivator's surname is Su. He is indeed with the Empress." Wan Ziang squinted his eyes. After putting the little girl on the beam, he mobilized his spiritual power and was ready to attack. The two men in black were wondering why Sir Su did not respond. When they were about to enter the house to check on the situation, they saw two red lights flying out of the house and hit their acupuncture points. Wan Ziang jumped out of the house, only to find that the two men in black saw that the situation was not good, and had already killed themselves with the poison in their teeth. The Empress is indeed ruthless. Wan Ziang carefully examined the two men in black. Although he didn't find any clues on them. But from what they said just now, he could infer that the evil cultivator's surname Su must have gone to Shangjing. After Wan Ziang hurriedly sent the little girl to the yamen, he immediately rushed to the capital to find Yi Jioga. At this moment, Yi Jioga was in the Violet Forest Park concocting a bone-nourishing pill for Yi Rui. During this period of time, the little lass's body was growing and she often felt that her bones were aching. Yi Jioga planned to refine some bone-nourishing pills for her. He didn't expect to receive an urgent message from Wan Ziang right after he finished refining the elixir, saying that Yi Yu had disappeared. Yi Jioga didn't even have time to change his clothes and hurriedly went to the Yu Wu tea house. He saw Wan Ziang sitting on a chair. He was travel-worn, his face was full of fatigue and there were dark circles under his eyes. It seemed that he had just rushed over from Hepu County. Bai Songling, who was sitting next to him, also looked solemn. "Why is Yi Yu missing?" Yi Jioga sat down and asked. "After we found the evil cultivator's place, we agreed to deal with him together. I didn't expect that Yi Yu would chase after him without permission." Wan Ziang frowned. Could he have been taken away by the evil cultivator? Yi Jioga was most worried about this. No, there was only the evil cultivator's blood in the house, not Yi Yu's. Yi Yu must have used the secret skill on the evil cultivator twice, then ate the spirit recovery pill and forced himself to chase after him. Wan Ziang recounted the scene, including the two men of sacrifice sent by the Empress. Why is the Empress in such a hurry to find this evil cultivator surnamed Su? Yi Jioga thought of another question when he heard that Yi Yu was fine. What else can he do besides harm people? No, logically speaking, Yi Yu should have exhausted his spiritual power after using the secret skill twice. How can he still have the strength to chase after that evil cultivator Su? Bai Songling asked doubtfully. A normal spirit recovery pill could only restore 30% of spiritual power at most. Could it be that the spirit recovery pill that Yi Yu ate was especially powerful? Although the spirit recovery pill made by Miss Yi is only a level 2 elixir, its efficacy is comparable to a high level 3 elixir. Wan Ziang nodded. However, no matter how powerful the spirit recovery pill was, it could only quickly restore spiritual power. It could not do anything about the essence, qi and spirit. That was why he was so worried about Yi Yu. Chapter 126. How many recovery pills do you have left? Bai Songling asked Wan Ziang. He remembered that Yi Jioga had given him 2 bottles of this pill, but Wan Ziang had taken it all for himself. Is this the time to talk about this? Wan Ziang glared at Bai Songling. Yi Yu's life and death were unknown, but this money grubber only remembered to ask about the spirit recovery pill. What did this make Yi Jioga think? Bai Songling smiled awkwardly and said, I'm just worried that Yi Yu's spirit recovery pill isn't strong enough, so I asked you to take one to study. You don't have to worry about that. There's absolutely no problem with the pills I've refined. Yi Jioga waved his hand and said, since Yi Yu isn't injured, then he should be fine. I'll use the secret signal to contact him later. She was very confident in Yi Yu's ability to protect himself. That's good. In addition to worrying about Yi Yu's safety, Wan Ziang was also worried that Yi Jioga would blame him. After all, he was the one who borrowed Yi Yu. He felt very guilty for not being able to return him to Yi Jioga in one piece. If there's nothing else, I'll be heading back first. Yi Jioga spoke straightforwardly, but he was still very worried about Yi Yu. We're done here. You can go back. If you find Yi Yu, let us know. Although Bai Songling still had a lot of questions to ask Yi Jioga, she didn't dare to waste her time when she saw her anxious look. After Yi Jioga left the Misty Rain tea house, he returned to the Purple Forest Park and changed into his nocturnal clothes. Then he went out to look for Yi Yu. According to Wan Ziang, the evil cultivator with the surname Su should have escaped back to Shangjing and was likely to find the Empress. Yi Jioga searched around the palace but did not find the Yi family's secret signal. Finally, he found a clue at the city gate. Following the signal that Yi Yu left behind, she finally arrived near the entrance of the Su family mansion. Why did Yi Yu come here? Was he chasing after the evil cultivator with the surname Su, or did he come to find Su Junqing? Yi Jioga looked up and saw red lanterns hanging in the Su family mansion. The bright candlelight illuminated the entrance very brightly. Although it was already dark, there were still many carriages parked in front of the gate. They were all here to visit Old Master Su. Although Old Master Su fell into a coma after coming out of seclusion, his spirit master cultivation was still there. Those who wanted to suck up to the Su clan still came in an endless stream. There were people who gave him elixirs, folk prescriptions and wandering doctors. In short, there was everything. She hadn't visited him since he fainted for so long. Yi Jioga turned invisible and nimbly jumped over the wall to enter the Su family's residence. She glanced around and found that the small building in the middle was the brightest. There were many servants going in and out. It should be the residence of an important person, so she quietly walked towards it. Yi Jioga's guess was right. This was Old Master Su's residence. At this moment, Old Master Su was lying on the bed with his eyes closed. His complexion looked good and he looked like he was in deep sleep. The members of the Su family surrounded great-grandfather Su's bed and served him personally, showing their filial piety. Su Junqing was also at the side, and his handsome face was full of worry. Yi Yi Shi Shi Yu Tian. Sheng for him. Yi Chiu for Yi. Su Yi Yi, Xiao Yi Song Su Su to you. What? Do you feel sorry for him? Zishang asked. Why would I feel sorry for him? Yi Jioga wanted the old man to die. Then why are you asking? Zishang didn't understand. Yi Jioga didn't appreciate his help. I'm worried that you'll be exposed. Yi Jioga rolled her eyes. Although Zishang's demonic technique was well hidden, it was hard to guarantee that no one would notice. You should worry about yourself. Zishang's voice was cold. This idiot was questioning his ability. She didn't know what was good for her. What do you mean? Yi Jioga wanted to ask but Zishang ignored her. A fat middle-aged man said to Su Junqing, Junqing, your grandfather has been unconscious for so long. Even the doctors in the palace can't tell. What should we do? This man was Su Juanqing's father, Su Yongming. Although he was the eldest son of the Su family, his aptitude wasn't outstanding. He was also very mediocre. If he didn't have a capable son like Su Junqing, he would have been suppressed by his siblings. Father, don't worry. The doctors have already seen him. They said that grandfather is fine. He will wake up after a while. Su Junqing still had the appearance of a modest young master. I hope so. Su Yongming wrinkled his face. He looked even older than old Master Su, who was lying on the bed. He looked like a good-for-nothing. Su Juanqing's eyes flashed with disgust and disdain, but he quickly lowered his eyes. He used the excuse that he had to entertain guests and left the courtyard. He walked to a place where there was no one. His refined and handsome face immediately became very ugly. He punched the rock on the rockery and shattered it. Ever since grandfather fainted, the Su family was in a mess. That useless father only knew how to sigh. Don't look at the Su family's beautiful appearance. In fact, it was already very dangerous. The people outside used the excuse of visiting to find out about old Master Su's condition. If the Su family showed the slightest weakness, they would immediately rush up and bite the Su family into pieces. Although he told the outside world that his grandfather had advanced too quickly and was in a deep sleep, Dongfang Ke was secretly manipulating the public opinion. He said that the Su family coveted Yun Qianwei's wealth and wanted to kill Yi Jioge. That was why they provoked Yun Qianwei's friends to attack his grandfather. Now, many people were secretly saying that the Su family deserved it and were waiting to see them become a joke. Su Junqing thought of those cold words and his chest started to heave up and down. But he quickly calmed himself down. There was no use thinking about it now. He had to quickly become stronger to the point where no one would dare to offend his Su family. Su Junqing thought of this and hurriedly arrived at a remote house in the Su family. Yi Jioge secretly followed behind him. She jumped onto the roof and lifted the tiles to look down. She discovered that it was a very simple house. After Su Junqing entered the house, he lifted up a lotus painting on the wall and pressed down on a brick behind it. The wall flipped backwards, revealing a dark room. A faint light was revealed, causing Su Junqing's shadow to grow. Yi Jioge squinted her eyes. She discovered that Su Junqing's shadow was a little strange. She immediately opened her spiritual eye to take a look and almost cursed it out loud. Yiyu, that extremely daring fellow, was actually hiding in Su Junqing's shadow. He was simply playing with fire. Su Junqing did not expect that there would be someone hiding in his shadow. As long as he looked carefully, he would immediately discover it. Chapter 127. At this moment, Su Junqing didn't notice anything unusual and stepped into the secret room. Yiyu hid in his shadow and followed him in. Yi Jioge looked at the closed secret door and her heart jumped to her throat. That evil practitioner was probably in the secret room. If Su Junqing talked to him about the process of getting injured, he might guess Yiyu's special ability and Yiyu would be in danger. But if she barged in now, she might miss some secret. She swayed left and right and couldn't decide what to do. Forget it, she would give Yiyu the time it takes for a joss stick to burn. That was also the longest time Yiyu could stay invisible. If Yiyu didn't come out by then, she would think of a way to barge in and save him. But it wasn't wise to fight Su Junqing head-on now, she had to use some tricks. Yi Jioge sneaked into old Master Su's courtyard to make some arrangements before returning to that room. The 30 minutes was getting closer and closer. Yi Jioge was considering whether to go in and save him now when the door of the secret room opened. Su Junqing walked out with a faint smell of blood. Yiyu was still in his shadow, but it didn't look good. Yi Jioge could feel that Yiyu's invisibility ability was about to disappear and he was in danger of being discovered at any time. Su Junqing seemed to have noticed something and his footsteps started to slow down. Although there was no expression on his face, his eyes showed that he was in a state of alertness. At this moment, there was a sudden commotion in the Su family. Fire, fire. Following that, a pillar of fire shot into the sky from old Master Su's residence. It looked especially terrifying. Su Junqing's expression changed and immediately rushed towards old Master Su's residence, fearing that the last life-saving charm of the Su family would be harmed. Yiyu took the opportunity to escape from his shadow. Let's go. Yi Jioge jumped down from the house and rushed out of the Su family as fast as she could while holding Yiyu's hand. Su Junqing rushed to old Master Su's courtyard. He found that the flame was just a bluff. It was just a corner ignited by kerosene and had been extinguished by the servants. He secretly cursed and immediately returned to that remote house. He carefully checked the inside and outside of the house but didn't find anything unusual. He pondered for a moment, then took out a small porcelain bottle, opened it and blew on the ground. A layer of red powder fell to the ground, revealing two footprints, one big and one small. It was obvious that a man and a woman had stopped here just now. Su Juanqing's expression was solemn as he sprinkled the red powder on the floor of the darkroom. This time there were two footprints of slightly different sizes. One after the other, it was simply a matter of time. One of them was his, the other, doubtless, lurked in his shadow. Shadow assassin. Su Juanqing narrowed his eyes and muttered to himself, I didn't expect that kid Yiyu to advance so quickly. I've underestimated him. However, this kid actually dared to come looking for trouble with me. He's courting death. Yiyu had already seen the scene in the secret room, so he had to kill him to silence him. Also, the woman who took him away must be his accomplice. He had to find her too. After Yi Jioga brought Yiyu away from the Su family, he originally wanted to bring him back to Purple Forest Park, but Yiyu refused. Eldest miss, it's not convenient to go to your place. Let's go to my place. Yiyu bought a small courtyard on the North Street and only he lived there. It was indeed more convenient than the Yi residence. Yi Jioga and Yiyu returned to his courtyard. You're going to die. You actually dared to sneak into the Su family. What if Su Juanqing found out? Yi Jioga fiercely scolded. Su Juanqing had an intimate relationship with Sister Yiyu before, so he might have already learned about the Yi family's cultivation technique from her. As long as he thought about it carefully, it would not be difficult to discover the secret of Yiyu advancing into a shadow assassin. I'll be careful next time, Yiyu weakly said. His face was pale, and his eyes were black as if he had been beaten. His body was on the verge of collapse, and it was obvious that his spirit had been overdrawn. Seeing him like this, Yi Jioga could not bear to continue scolding him. He took out a bottle of Peiyuan Dan and stuffed it into Yiyu's hands. Quickly eat it. After Yiyu swallowed the Dan, he immediately felt his whole body relax, and the exhaustion he felt began to subside. He silently put the jade bottle into his clothes. The eldest Mrs. Pills were all good and he must cherish them. Seeing that Yiyu had recovered, Yi Jioga asked, What did you see when you followed Su Juanqing into the secret room? Yiyu's face was solemn and he slowly said, I saw the corpse of that evil cultivator called Su Hansen. Corpse? What do you mean? That evil cultivator was killed by you? Yi Jioga raised his eyebrows and asked, Didn't they say that the evil cultivator was an advanced spiritualist? Even if Yiyu's sneak attack was successful, he would not have killed him. I didn't kill him, it was Su Juanqing. Yiyu said word by word. Su Juanqing? Yi Jioga was shocked and he asked, Why did he kill that Su Hansen? Weren't they together? They were indeed together. That Su Hansen was Su Juanqing's senior brother, but when Su Juanqing saw that his senior brother was injured, he did not want to save him. Instead, he killed him to cultivate. Yiyu recalled how Su Juanqing sucked his blood just now, and his stomach began to churn. Who would have thought that such a handsome man would turn out to be a cruel, heartless, and insane pervert? Su Juanqing killed his fellow disciple. Isn't he afraid that other disciples will find out? Yi Jioga felt that it was a little unbelievable. No matter how evil a cultivator was, he would not kill his fellow disciple like that. From the looks of it, Su Juanqing is planning to push this crime onto someone else. Needless to say, this someone was naturally Wan Ziang. Su Juanqing's wishful thinking is very good. Not only can he increase his cultivation, but he can also get rid of Wan Ziang, the thorn in his side. Yi Jioga had a deeper understanding of Su Juanqing's shamelessness. We must not let Su Juanqing succeed. Yiyu gritted his teeth. Unfortunately, that Su Hansen is already dead and there is no evidence now. This is really difficult. Yi Jioga shook his head. If Su Hansen's fellow disciples were here, they would definitely believe Su Juanqing's words. Yiyu was silent. He suddenly felt that him and Wan Ziang ambushing Su Hansen was simply a joke. They did not get anything out of him and instead they gave Su Juanqing a big meal. Don't think too much, this is not your fault. Who knew that Su Juanqing would be so abnormal? Yi Jioga saw that Yiyu was depressed, so he comforted him. No matter what, Su Hansen is dead, and there is one less evil person. And? Yiyu nodded his head. He could only comfort himself like this. Compared to Su Juanqing, who did things in secret, Su Hansen, who had no taboo, was more lethal, and indeed could not be left alive. Chapter 128. Brother Wan is very angry that you left the group and went after him on your own. Find a time to apologize to him and don't act on your own again. Yi Jioga didn't want to leave a knot between them because of this. I'll go find Wan Ziang later. Yi Yu also knew that it was wrong of him to act on his own. Putting himself in Wan Ziang's shoes, if Wan Ziang went after him without saying a word, he would be worried too. Also, stay away from Su Junqing during this period of time. You can't get close to him, understand? Yi Jioga warned him seriously. After Su Junqing killed his senior brother, his cultivation would definitely increase greatly. It would be dangerous for Yi Yu to follow him. Yi Yu lowered his long eyelashes and didn't say anything. The clue to find his sister was still on that pervert Su Junqing. It was impossible for him to stay away from Su Junqing. Seeing Yi Yu like this, Yi Jioga didn't ask any more. Instead, she brought up another matter. Right, where is your Yi clan's treasure map? Although she had made a deal with Yi Yu to get the treasure map after helping him eliminate the Su clan. But judging from the current situation, the Su clan, the Empress, and the evil cultivators behind them were all here for the treasure map. It wouldn't be suitable for Yi Yu to keep it. Anyway, she would definitely deal with the Su clan, so it was reasonable for her to get paid in advance. It's on me. Yi Yu pulled out a red rope from his neck without hesitation. There was a black cloth bag hanging from it. He knew that he couldn't keep this treasure map. Rather than the Su clan and the crown prince taking it away, it was better to give it to Yi Jioga. Even if Yi Jioga couldn't help him eliminate the Su clan, she was worthy of this treasure map based on the help she had given him. Yi Jioga took the red rope and opened the bag. There was a key made of bronze inside. There were some exquisite carvings on the key. It looked like an ornament. Yi Jioga held the key and twisted it left and right. With a click, it was split into two. The head of the key was connected to a thin blade that shone with a cold light. The bottom was hollow, and there was a ball of silk that was as thin as a cicada's wing. Yi Jioga took out the silk and looked at it. There were mountains and rivers on it. It was obviously a map. At this time, Zishang said faintly, "It's fake." How could it be fake? No matter how Yi Jioga looked at it, he felt that Yi Yu's treasure map was exactly the same as the crown prince's in terms of material, ink, and other aspects. Do you think that I am lying to you? Zishang's voice was somewhat cold. You wouldn't lie to me, Yi Jioga immediately said. However, she did not think that Yi Yu would lie to her. It was very likely that Yi Yu did not know that this treasure map was fake. Yi Jioga thought as he looked up at Yi Yu. This treasure map is fake, Yi Yu said in a low voice. Why did you give me a fake map? Yi Jioga put the fake map back into the key and threw it to Yi Yu. Eldest miss, please don't be angry, Yi Yu picked up the copper key and said in a low voice. The fake map inside this key is a smokescreen used by the Yi family to deceive outsiders. The real map is actually in my flesh. If it's dangerous to take it out, then forget it. Yi Jioga felt uncomfortable when he heard the word, flesh. To her, the assassin Yi Yu was much more important than the treasure map. It's not dangerous. Yi Yu smiled and twisted the key again. Then he used the thin sharp blade on the head of the key to cut the inside of his arm. Then he picked out a long strip of beeswax from his flesh and handed it to Yi Jioga. Yi Jioga did not take it. Instead, he lowered his head to look at Yi Yu's wound. It's just a small wound. It's not a big deal. Yi Jioga's cutting speed was very fast and precise, so there was not much blood. Only then did Yi Jioga accept the beeswax. After crushing it, he took out the silk inside. This time, Zishang did not say anything. It seemed that this was the real deal. In fact, this map was very similar to the fake one from before. The only difference was that the silk used was not the same. The fake map was slightly darker in color, but it was hard to tell if they were not placed side by side. Actually, our Yi family has a total of 2 copies of the treasure map. One is with me and the other is with my sister. Only by using the cold copper plate on this key can we pick out the beeswax. Using any other method will cause the beeswax to dissolve and destroy the treasure map, Yi Yu said. This was what his father told him on the night of the family's extermination. Before this, the two of them did not know that the family's treasure map was hidden in their flesh. If Su Junqing knew that the treasure map he yearned for was with Yi Yunji, I wonder if he would regret sending her away. Yi Jioga could not help but reveal a sarcastic smile. I believe that my sister will want to tell him personally. A dark light flashed in Yi Yu's eyes. Don't worry, your sister will definitely have the chance. Yi Jioga patted Yi Yu's shoulder and put away the map. Yi Yu nodded. He put the fake map back into the bronze key and prepared to hang it around his neck. At this time, Yi Jioga suddenly reached out and took the fake map. He said, Wait a minute, I have a good idea. What good idea? Yi Yu asked. Later, bring this fake map to Wan Ziang and tell him that it was taken from the heretic cultivator Su Hansen. Then have him offer it to the emperor. Yi Jioga moved closer to Yi Yu's ear and instructed. Yi Yu's eyes immediately lit up when he heard Yi Jioga's words. Using Shen Wu Emperor to deal with the heretic cultivator was a good idea. Remember what I said. Stay away from Su Junqing so that you don't alert the enemy. Yi Jioga warned Yi Yu again. I know. Yi Yu nodded. It's good that you know. It's getting late. I'll go back first. You rest well before you go find Wan Ziang. Yi Jioga said as he stood up. Eldest miss, be careful on the road. Yi Yu wanted to send Yi Jioga back but was refused. I have hands and feet. I don't need you to send me back. You just need to rest well. After that he left at an extremely fast speed. Yi Yu returned to his room but did not sleep immediately. Instead he sat at the table and pondered. The dim yellow light shone on his smooth and beautiful face. The red mole between his eyebrows shone even more brightly. In fact, he had heard some things about Su Junqing and Su Hansen in the secret room. They both came from a heretic sect called the Bloodthirsty sect. The heretic sect was located in a mountain 3,000 miles to the west. Su Junqing had offered his sister to the sect as a tribute. Yi Yu looked up at the dark sky palace and made up his mind. After helping Yi Jioga settle the matters here, he would go there to find clues about his sister. At this time in the Blood Cloud Peak, 3,000 miles away from Shangjing, there was a gloomy cave filled with small black lamps. There was no oil in the small lamps. Dark red candlelight floated on the lamps. At this time a small lamp suddenly went out. The name under the lamp was Su Hansen. Chapter 129. Motherf ** Ker, even old Su died. A short man's expression changed when he saw Su Hansen's extinguished soul lamp. He immediately carried the soul lamp through one dark tunnel after another until he arrived at the door of a large cave. There were 2 guards at the door. When they saw him rush over, they smiled and said, "Skinny monkey, why are you in such a rush?" "Not good, old Su's soul lamp extinguished," Skinny monkey said anxiously. The 2 guards glanced at each other, their expressions somewhat solemn. One of the guards said to Skinny monkey, "Wait here, I'll go in and report to the ancestor." "Okay." Skinny monkey obediently waited where he was. A moment later the guard came out and let Skinny monkey in. Skinny monkey tidied up his clothes and walked into the ancestor's cave with the soul lamp. The cave was extremely luxurious. There was a red carpet on the floor and it was filled with good wine and delicacies. Night pearls hung from the ceiling. There was a large, soft couch at the top, and a beautiful woman wearing a red veil was lying on it. A skinny old man was lying on top of her, burying his head in the woman's neck and greedily sucking her blood. Skinny monkey smelled the blood with spirit energy and couldn't help but gulp. He raised his head and peeked at the veiled woman. Her skin was as white as jade, and her facial features were exquisite. Her long eyelashes were like little fans, and there was a red beauty mark between her eyebrows. After the black-clothed old man sucked enough blood, he got up from the woman and looked at Skinny monkey. His face was skinny like a dried corpse and his eyes were sunken in. There was an indescribable ruthlessness to him, and his body gave off a thick smell of blood. This old man was called Bloodthirsty Ancestor. He was a high-level spirit master and was only one step away from becoming a great spirit master. He was the most terrifying existence in this mountain. He used the bewitching art and blood spirit art to create Bloodthirsty sect. He took in many disciples and taught them evil techniques. He had them go find women with spirit roots to be his blood slaves. The veiled woman pulled up her clothes and obediently knelt by the old man's feet. Her head was still on his thigh, and she looked like a cute Persian cat. The old man stroked the woman's soft hair in satisfaction. He looked up at the skinny monkey and asked, "What's the matter?" "Old ancestor, Su Hansen's soul lamp has been extinguished." Skinny monkey stepped forward and respectfully placed the soul lamp on the table in front of the old ancestor. Forefather Bloodthirsty picked up the soul lamp and glanced at it. His wizened face beamed a sinister smile as he said coldly, "Shangjing is really a place with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. 2 of my disciples died." Bloodthirsty's forefather put down the soul lamp and asked, "What did Su Junqing say?" "Ancestor, Su Junqing has sent a letter saying that a few spiritualists from the Ministry of Justice have discovered that he is collecting young girls. They have been pestering him and saying that Yun Qianwei's granddaughter Yi Jioga is always opposing him. Thus, he wants to ask Ancestor to send a few disciples with high cultivation to support him." The thin monkey-like person respectfully said, "He can't even deal with a few spiritualists. Su Junqing is really trash." Bloodthirsty's forefather sneered. Ancestor is right. However, Su Junqing is cultivating alone and can't receive guidance from Ancestor, so his cultivation is naturally lacking. Ancestor, please forgive him this time for the sake of his filial piety. After all, his status in the Su family is quite beneficial to our bloodthirsty sect. The thin monkey-like person flattered. Although the spiritual ladies that Su Junqing sent back were all enjoyed by the forefather, the taste of the other girls was not bad. Speaking of Su Junqing's filial piety, Bloodthirsty's forefather couldn't help but look down at the veiled beauty with a satisfied expression. He then ordered, "All right, call Lu Yunfei over." "Ancestor, you want to send senior sister Lu Yunfei out?" The thin monkey-like person was shocked. Although that woman's cultivation was the same as his, an advanced spiritualist, she was not someone to be trifled with. Most of the people in Bloodthirsty sect were men, so they usually used women's blood to cultivate. Women with spiritual roots were their favorite. For a woman like Lu Yunfei to be able to gain a foothold in Bloodthirsty sect, it went without saying how powerful she was. That's right. Didn't Su Junqing want to find someone with a high cultivation? There is no one more suitable than Lu Yunfei. Bloodthirsty's forefather waved his hand and said, "Go quickly." Yes. The thin monkey-like person quickly retreated. Not long after, a girl wearing a pink dress walked in. She looked to be around 16 years old and had a cute appearance. When she smiled, there were 2 dimples on her face. When she walked, she bounced up and down like an innocent girl. "What orders does Ancestor have for Lu Yunfei?" Lu Yunfei blinked her big eyes and asked Bloodthirsty's forefather. "Su Hansen and Nanny Su's soul lamps are extinguished. Go to Shangjing and refine the people who killed them. Then help Su Junqing finish the task I gave him. Also bring back that girl called Yi Jioga. She is Yun Qianwei's granddaughter. She must taste good." Bloodthirsty's forefather revealed a gloomy expression. He couldn't help but rub the veiled woman's hair a little harder. Meow. The veiled woman suddenly let out a meow. Then, she hit Bloodthirsty's forefather unhappily and turned her head away. "Little treasure, it's my fault. I was too engrossed in my thoughts and accidentally hurt my little treasure." Bloodthirsty's forefather wasn't angry when she hit him. Instead, he smiled and coaxed the veiled woman. The veiled woman slowly turned around and rested her head on Bloodthirsty's forefather's thigh. Her watery eyes met Lu Yunfei's. Lu Yunfei looked at the red mole between the veiled woman's eyebrows. She suddenly pointed at her and said to Bloodthirsty's forefather, "Forefather, after I bring back the Yi Jioga, can you give her to me?" "You want her?" Bloodthirsty's forefather asked curiously. "Yes, I like her face in that red mole. I want to peel off her skin for my collection." Lu Yunfei revealed an innocent smile. "You just like to collect the skin of beauties?" Bloodthirsty's forefather smiled lovingly. Then he nodded and said, "When you finish your mission and come back, I should have sucked dry her spirit blood. Then you can have her." "No, if you suck dry her spirit blood, she'll become trash. Why would I need to peel her skin?" Lu Yunfei pouted and moved her feet. She looked like she didn't want to wear anything. Okay. I won't suck anymore. You can have it all." Bloodthirsty's forefather was very lenient to his capable subordinates. "Okay, then it's settled." Lu Yunfei bowed slightly and winked at the veiled beauty. She smiled and said, "Be good and wait for me to come back." The veiled woman didn't react from beginning to end. It was as if she didn't understand what they were saying. Her misty eyes didn't have any light at all. Lu Yunfei didn't care. She waved at the veiled woman and skipped out of the room. She looked in the direction of Thunder Country and revealed a bloodthirsty smile. She said darkly, "Yi Jioga, right? I want to see what you can do." Then her figure flashed and disappeared. Chapter 130. Yi Jioga didn't know that a perverted woman was thinking about him. By the time she returned to Purple Forest Park, it was already dawn. She slept until noon. When Mother Qing came in to serve, she couldn't help but mutter, "Miss, why do you have to go out at night to do something?" "Of course it's something important. Don't ask." Yi Jioga doesn't want to bring outside matters into Purple Forest Garden. Mother Qing only needs to help her manage the courtyard. All right. Mother Qing saw that eldest young miss didn't want to talk about it, so she changed the topic and said, "Eldest young miss, Yudi and Hua Dai's aptitude is pretty good. This old servant intends to let them officially cultivate. What grade of bone-opening medicine do you think is better?" Bone-opening medicine was the first step of cultivation. A good bone-opening medicine could stabilize a cultivator's meridians, and in the future cultivation would be twice the result with half the effort. However, good bone-opening medicines were not cheap. Normally, it would be good if a large family could buy a set of middle-grade medicine to nurture their own subordinates. There's no need to buy them. I'll concoct the bone-opening medicine for them. Yi Jioga had a pretty good impression of these two maidservants. Although she doesn't have a spiritual root, she can still be a good helper to Mother Qing if she cultivates well. After all, Mama Qing was old, and Yi Jioga wanted her to enjoy her old age in peace. Then this old servant will thank you on behalf of the two young maidservants. Mother Qing said with a smile. In her heart, eldest young miss was an even better alchemist than master. To be able to have the eldest miss personally concoct the bone-opening medicine, it was truly a great fortune. Call Hua Dai and Yu Dai in. I'll check their bones first. Yi Jioga had to examine them properly before he could concoct the bone-opening medicine. Yes, this old servant will go and call them in. Mother Qing happily went out and called Hua Dai and Yu Dai in. When the two maidservants found out that the eldest young miss was going to personally concoct the bone-opening medicine for them, their faces were filled with unconcealable excitement. Yi Jioga helped them to check and he knew what was going on. In fact, the materials needed for the bone-opening medicine were very simple. They were all medicinal herbs used to temper the muscles and bones. The difference was in the dosage and the combination of certain medicinal herbs. For example, Hua Dai had a small frame but a lot of muscles. The amount of atractylodes macrocephala needed was relatively small, and some peony skin was also needed to increase bone density. The jade butterfly was the exact opposite of the flower butterfly. It had a large frame and less muscles. He needed to increase the dosage of atractylodes macrocephala and add some green bamboo leaves to strengthen his muscles. At this moment, Yi Jioga still didn't know that the bone-opening medicine he made for Yu Dai and Hua Dai almost killed them. With an idea in her mind, she quickly wrote 2 prescriptions for Mother Qing and asked her to pick up the medicine. Mother Qing happily put away the prescription. She planned to go get the medicine later and find a good day to open Hua Dai and Yu Dai's bones. Yi Jioga was still thinking about what he had discussed with Yi Yu last night, so he quietly went to Yi Yu's courtyard. However, he found that Yi Yu was not there. Instead, Wan Xiang and Bai Songling were there. Are you here for Yi Yu, young mistress? Bai Songling asked. Yeah, where did he go? Yi Jioga asked curiously. I don't know. We're waiting for him too. Bai Songling rolled his eyes and asked Yi Jioga with a smile, did you know that Yi Yu brought a treasure map to us last night? I know, I was the one who asked him to take it. Yi Jioga also smiled and said, a treasure is a crime. Yi Yu and I are not people who do great things. It's best to give this treasure map to the emperor. Bai Songling didn't believe Yi Jioga's nonsense. If she was not a person who did great things, who else could do great things? Wan Xiang said seriously, I have already handed the treasure map that I seized from the evil cultivator Su Hansen to the emperor. The emperor should be very excited. Yi Jioga said clearly. The crown prince kept the treasure map in the dragon and phoenix jade pendant. It meant that he and the empress had been hiding this matter from the emperor. Now that she exposed the matter, she believed that the crown prince and the empress must be very nervous. Yes, the emperor has ordered the Ministry of Justice to thoroughly investigate the case of the evil cultivator harming people. There will be a big reward for catching the evil cultivator. Previously, the people of the Ministry of Justice didn't support Wan Xiang to investigate the evil cultivator. They felt that it was a waste of energy. Now that the emperor had issued an imperial edict, the people of the Ministry of Justice were eager to make a contribution in front of the emperor. With a big reward, Su Junqing will definitely not dare to be arrogant this time. Yi Jioga was happy when she thought that Su Junqing was going to be in trouble. Now that Emperor Xian had personally given the order, as long as they found evidence that Su Junqing cultivated evil arts, they would destroy his reputation. Leave Su Junqing's matter to us. The alchemy conference is going to be held in the Medicine Refinery Valley. What do you plan to do? Bai Songling asked. Nothing. Yi Jioga had never been interested in the competition. She preferred to quietly do research and concoct pills. I heard that the winner of this competition will be rewarded with an alchemy furnace from the weapon refining sect. It's worth 30,000 gold coins. Bai Songling felt that it was a pity that Yi Jioga didn't participate. In order to attract more alchemists, Emperor Xianwu had always wanted to raise the standards of the Thunder Country's alchemy competition. Therefore he put in a lot of effort this time. 30,000 gold coins? Yi Jioga's eyes lit up and said without hesitation. Okay, I will participate. Although she hated competitions, she didn't hate receiving awards. Other than the Thunder Country's alchemists, there will be many alchemists from other places participating in the competition. When the time comes, the trade fair will be very lively. You might be able to exchange for something good. Bai Songling revealed another piece of information. He and Dongfang Ke were very concerned about this alchemy competition. They hoped to find out more about the fire dragon grass from the alchemists who came from all over the world. After all, they needed the fire dragon grass to completely eradicate the poison in Dongfang Ke's body. Okay, let's go take a look. Yi Jiuge was very interested in the trade fair. She could sell the blue jade seaweed that she had collected at the bottom of the lake. Oh right, your father, Grandmaster Yi, is one of the judges for this alchemy competition. He has a spot that can be guaranteed to the last round. Do you want to ask him? Although Bai Songling was very confident in Yi Jiuge's alchemy skills, it would save a lot of effort if he could be guaranteed a spot in the last round. There's nothing to ask. He will definitely give the spot to Yi Shanshan. This was a definite thing. Yi Jiuge didn't care about that spot. As long as Yi Yuxuan didn't bother her, she would be happy. Do you want to ask the Prince of Dongling to help you get a spot? Bai Songling asked. Although it was difficult to get a spot in the alchemy competition, it wasn't impossible as long as one worked hard. There's no need to go through so much trouble. I'll just kill my way in. Yi Jiuge waved her hand. If she couldn't even pass the first few rounds, how could she bring the 30,000 gold cauldron home? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.